Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this Thursday, the first one in August? Here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. There is football tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
Well, there's football.
Yeah, there's
a game that's going to be played. Two teams wore uniforms of NFL teams.
That is true. One will look an awful lot like the Las Vegas Raiders, and the other will look a lot like the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is true. Might not be 15 guys that you recognize, but yeah, okay. Hey, if you, once again, grown men sweating,
hitting one another violently
in recognizable helmets and jerseys. And you've waited 200 plus days for that. So I'll cut you some slack. I will. All right. I'll give it to you. We got that tonight. In fact, we'll go live to Canton in a couple hours. JP Shadrick will join us on the show.
We're taking it seriously.
Right. I mean, in fact, it's a number you can't even use it in your lottery anymore. We've been giving out all these numbers, and now it's 0. Can't use that in a lottery. You can barely use it in a jersey. Who wants to be 0? I mean, Orlando Woolrich. I mean, you know.
The original Big O.
Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Fired up. I like the fact that there's football tonight. And I like the fact that we now, with a game means more games, David. And then with more games means games that actually matter. And that's the way I spin this.
One leads to the other. Is that what you're saying?
Right. We're getting closer.
All right. Okay.
And yesterday with Phil Steele for a half hour, how couldn't you not be a little more fired up about the football season?
You know what was great to experience from this side of talking to Phil Steele is, Phil feels like a relative that we see once a year at a family thing, because we genuinely talk to Phil once a year for a half an hour. We've done that for roughly 15 years. And there's reasons why we can't talk to him more than that. And now Phil's at the point where you got to compensate Phil for Phil to come on your show. It wasn't that way 15 years ago. We actually used to have Phil on a handful of times a year. Now, Phil's a big deal. So he'll promote his magazine. He'll give any radio station in the country one shot. Now he gives us a half an hour because we've done it a long time. But now that, we're in 4 markets, and so there are people listening who've never listened before. And apparently they have never heard Phil Steele before. I don't know if it was on the text line, but in the Twitch chat room yesterday, there were people like, oh my goodness, this guy's amazing. This guy knows the second and third stringers on Northern Illinois, and he's clearly doing this off the top of his head because you guys are going rapid fire with teams and subjects. He doesn't have time to look this up.
No, and he talks faster than we do.
So it was just very enjoyable. We were just doing our normal thing with Phil. We're talking to him. We know what we're going to ask him. Concentrate on the Southeast, throw in the big schools elsewhere. And
a little Big Ten talk, because we know we got a lot of that down here, and call it a day.
Got to get the UCF and South Florida in.
Right.
And, okay, smoke them if you got them. But it was just so enjoyable to see the text line in the Twitch chat room in which people were just like, it's like walking into, I think, a good deli for the first time. You allow a friend to take you to a certain place that you've never been, and you stand there and you start to feel the aroma and you see the ambiance. And by ambiance,
you mean meat,
the hectic yet structure of a really good deli. And you're like, oh, wow.
Can't believe you went deli at 6:05. That is dirty.
You know me. I go right over the whole eggs thing. I mean, not that there's nothing wrong with an omelet or what have you, but I mean, if it was,
but it's not
if it was
not
my
a corned beef
choice,
sandwich.
No, if it was up to me, I'd have 4 lunches and 3 dinners a day. I mean, that would pretty much solve it. They say, for weight control and what have you, you're supposed to eat every 2 to 3 hours. And I believe that. For whatever reason, they keep talking about portion size. And my thought is, no, it's been 2.5 hours. Let's eat.
And while we're eating, let's plan on what we're going to eat next.
Right. I'd like the pastrami now Okay, can we have the meatloaf? Let's see, what time is it? 2:30? 5 o'clock? I'd like the meatloaf.
No, there's a deli in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and you have New York delis. But outside of New York, there are people that will tell you that Zingerman's is as good as you can get to New York City. I would drive home. I would go out of my way to stop at Zingerman's. I would have a sandwich at Zingerman's. I would order another sandwich.
There you go.
And tell them just keep all the sides off. That's a to-go sandwich. And I'd get home about an hour and 20 minutes on my trip back to Saginaw.
You'd be ready to go again.
Sit right down, have the second Zingerman's.
Outstanding. That's outstanding. If you really think about it, it's kind of like combining a Florida dinner with a most of the rest of the country dinner. You could have that first sandwich between 4 and 4:30, and then, you do your thing and you get in the car and you go home and a little bit of traffic and you get home at 6 o'clock, and now it's time to eat with everybody else. This is like when you go to the fast food place, all right, and you eat the 1 or 2 double cheeseburgers, and then you have to find a way to either hide them at the bottom of the thing or throw out those wrappers so that when you get home and you bring everybody else dinner and they think you're having just one sandwich, and you've already had 2.
That's a personal thing. I don't know how many of us really do that, but I love it. God, I love it.
Not that I've done that.
No.
I've just heard that others do.
Well, the NFL did it, David. They appealed. Imagine that.
What?
I know.
Wait. Who are they appealing to?
That would be the NFL.
I mean, we all knew this, but can we just do that again?
And wait for it. Well, can I finish, though? Wait for it. They're asking for a year suspension.
Who are they asking it of?
Themselves.
I mean, the NFLPA allowed this.
And they're threatening all these lawsuits and whatever. It doesn't matter.
I mean, and DeMar Smith still has a job. Listen, we all care about money, and not that everybody cares about money more than other things, but if we were part of a players association, the number one issue, of course, is how big a piece of the pie can we get? Can we get 50%, 51, 55? Just how big a piece of the pie can we get? That's obviously the number one issue. But come on, there has to be other issues that are important. I mean, it's the old adage of, hey, this could happen to you one day.
Well, I don't think Deshaun Watson's the best example, but I do think, Hopkins is an example of someone who doesn't really, the PEDs, and he's trying to figure out there are plenty of guys, because he's not been in trouble before.
No.
I mean, there are plenty of guys who have circumstances fall upon them where you would think they would like the ability to appeal this in a process that gives them a shot. The only decision Raj has to make now is whether he's going to hear the appeal himself or he's going to appoint someone to hear it on his behalf.
Correct. His big decision now is, so how much of a sham should I make this? Should I just be... Here's the funny thing. The NFL actually has to present their side, their case. In theory, Raj can be both. So Raj could be the lead prosecutor. So what I'm wondering is, could he, when it's time for Deshaun Watson's side to present their side, could he go and sit behind the bench and then get up and go? And when it's time for the NFL to present their side, could Raj get up from the chair, walk around the bench, and then make his case? And get a cardboard cutout of himself that he leaves by the bench, okay, while he then makes the case. I mean, that's how big of a sham this is. I mean, let's not pull any punches. That's literally what this is. Well, we're asking for a year. Well, who are you asking of? Myself.
Begs the question, David. If they don't get a year,
who do you blame?
Thank you. And if anybody thinks this is going to be less than 12 games now, you're nuts.
I don't know how many of you are parents, and sometimes parents have been known during the course of raising their children to talking out loud to themselves. They're frustrated with their child who has misbehaved. They're trying to figure out the grounding, the punishment, or they're just trying to talk themselves out of, the fit of frustration that they have and talk their way through it. And I sense that's another thing that Raj could do here. He could channel his inner parenting. You know how sometimes in your case, Mark, you might go out on the lanai, all right, and be by the pool. Maybe you start grilling and you're talking to yourself, well, I tell you what, she won't pick up her things. I tell you who's boss of this house. Okay, you've got 10 more years under this roof. You're going to do what I say, da, 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 da. And then you walk back
As I do it to the hamburger.
Well, right. And then you go back in and you become, I don't know, either the prosecutor or the judge.
Or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and just fold apart being too soft. But I get your point.
So I mean, can we stop sugarcoating what a sham this is? We tried to say this throughout. It's why I didn't know Judge Robinson was taking so long. Could you just get your ruling over with? It's not going to matter unless you give the NFL everything they ask for.
Well, and I loved the NFLPA the day before it comes out saying, we're not going to appeal, and we urge the NFL to do the same. Of course you do, because you negotiated a deal in which you have no power whatsoever.
We're going to sue in federal court. Well, that's great. Knock yourself out. Well, the lawyers will get paid. That'll be great. I mean, you have no legal standing at all. Zip, zilch, none, nada, no legal standing. I mean, maybe you get the right federal judge, you can get one injunction. Maybe Deshaun plays an early season game or two, but he's going to lose. I mean, write it down. He's going to lose. And then whatever it is that Raj decides the penalty is going to be, that's going to be the penalty. It's just a matter of, does it kick in before week 1 or does it kick in after some more legal maneuvering?
And if you're Deshaun, you want it to kick in now because you get paid $1 million this year and 46 next. It's really simple.
Sounds easy to us, right?
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. How does the Batgirl film be made and then they cancel it? That's interesting.
So what is the reason why they're canceling it?
I don't know.
Do they not think anyone's going to watch it?
I don't know.
I mean, apparently they spent about 90 to 95 million making it. Okay, what's the problem? I mean, like, you don't think it'll generate $100 million?
That bad?
Ha ha! There you go, San Diego.
That's outstanding, San Diego.
Guinness in hand. That is lovely. Lovely at 11:15 in the morning, right?
Are you flying home or did you just get there?
You were there a little early for Nebraska Northwestern, right? You got the month wrong? Well, if you're a believer in Jameis, the Saints are an interesting bet.
I do think that that's what I said to him. Well, enjoy the trip. I'll be there in 3 years.
Not a lot of, but well, it is 4 weeks out. So 10 years ago, it was Notre Dame Navy in Dublin. And it was interesting how in the sports section, let's just say the sports section was like 12 pages. The game was on page 11 leading up to it. Yet, because it was Notre Dame, their like pep rally was broadcast live on state television in Ireland. 2-hour pep rally broadcast live on state TV. Yet it wasn't getting hardly any coverage in the press.
They're $3 billion in cost cutting at Warner Brothers Discovery. I mean,
$3 billion?
At Warner Brothers Discovery. That's their.
Yeah, apparently HBO is laying off like a lot of employees, like thousands. HBO is Warner Brothers.
$3 billion seems like a lot. Yeah, no, Arch, that's basically what it is. You know, the party. Oh. There was a big, I don't know if it was cricket or maybe it was football, but like Notre Dame Navy was relegated to the small soccer stadium.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us on this first Thursday in August, which brings with it football. Technically, Mark, you've waited 172 days since the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl to see grown men sweating in helmets and shoulder pads, hitting one another in a contest that is nationally televised in which they will keep the score, even though it is meaningless. And obviously the opener Rams Bills is 5 weeks from today. So you add 35 days to it. We go 207 days from the Super Bowl to, the first game of the next season. And the college season obviously is longer than that, even though, week 0 is earlier, but the season's shorter. You basically add about 10 or so days to the college. That's why I think it works. The old Heinz ketchup ad, anticipation. You got to wait over 200 days for pro and college football to, get it on.
I'm just trying to think of how old that ad is.
I'm guessing 70s.
Early 70s.
Okay, well, what can I tell you? I was a kid influenced by advertising. My grandparents used to tell me that I would play with the toys during the show. And when the show went to commercial break, I would stop. And I would watch the commercials. And then I would go back to playing with the toys during the show.
Okay, it was a little later. It was late 70s.
Okay. The Heinz ketchup ad.
Oh, yeah.
In which, the thick ketchup and, to get it to pour from the bottle.
That came out of a bottle, a glass bottle.
A glass bottle, correct.
It was right next to your glass Coca-Cola bottle in the fridge.
That's right. With real sugar in it.
You're damn right.
Somehow, some way, multiple generations were able to not just live, but thrive. Not anymore. Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. So there we go. We got Raiders and Jags tonight, or at least their helmets.
Well, the Raiders are a 2.5-point favorite, so I know it's a real game because there's a line and you can bet on it, David.
If you were to place a bet on a preseason football game, in fact, this could be early nomination for our poll question. If you bet a preseason game, what does that say about you? A,
despair.
Well, I was thinking we start positive, A, kind of like got your game on early this year, but then eventually you get to need professional help.
3 of the 4 answers have to be along that vibe there, David. I think we should just bet all the underdogs for the preseason.
Wait, we have a preseason betting theme.
Why not?
Okay.
I think that's what I'm going to pay attention to this preseason. I'm going to get something to pay attention to outside of injuries.
I think the last answer should be point spread is okay, over under problematic. Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. We're going to have lawsuits everywhere.
Yes, we are.
Lawsuits everywhere. Apparently, the NFLPA is going to sue the NFL for doing what they can do per the collective bargaining agreement. That's okay. They don't like it. Well, we knew we were going to have lawsuits in golf. We just didn't know which side was going to sue the other first.
And who was suing who.
Right.
But now we do.
Right. So it turns out the LIV is going to sue the PGA Tour, but it's not so much the LIV as a whole. It's some individual members.
For their suspension is the first suit.
Right. Like DJ is not part of the suit because he's no longer a member of the PGA Tour. He resigned his membership. I read something last night in which there are guys on the tour that actually respect what DJ's done. DJ just left, and he didn't say anything bad on his way out the door. He just said, I had a good run. This was fun. Now I'm going to do something else, and then I'm probably going to retire early. So you guys, it was fun. Maybe we'll get together and party occasionally, but good luck.
That's what I'm good at.
Well, he's also pretty good at golf.
He is. But now you have DeChambeau and Mickelson and others.
There are 11 total
that are suing the PGA Tour over the suspension.
Well, I have to admit, and this is something that may pertain to people like us maybe more than most, but, we're independent contractors. And I'm an independent contractor at like 3 or 4 places. And that's what golfers are. Professional golfers are independent contractors. They are not salaried employees. And they're they are saying, hey, hold on a second. If we're independent contractors, then I can do this for you. I could go do this for them. I could do this for those guys. You can't stop me. I mean, you chose not to make me an employee. So because of it, then I get to play golf for you. I get to play golf for them. And I could also play golf for those guys if I want. I mean, that's basically what they're suing about in a nutshell. Now, 3 of the 11 are also suing to get in this year's playoffs and what have you. Phil and DeChambeau are not part of that. But the 11 have put their names on the suit that basically says, hey, if we're independent contractors, then you can't suspend us from playing. We can play anywhere we want.
This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah. And I think it goes all the way to the Supreme Court.
I just wonder, because again, the PGA Tour has their rules.
Right. And what the LIV golfers are going to argue is, the rules are illegal. I mean, yeah. For the PGA,
and I wonder what other can of worms this would open then.
Right. That's why I think, by the way, it's going all the way to the Supreme Court, because this is going to pertain to a lot of other industries.
Correct.
And that's why I think every level of our system is going to take this case on.
This is far more reaching than professional golf.
And that's why each side thinks they have a very strong case. The PGA Tour is like, oh, there's documents right here. These are the ground rules. You knew it when you signed. And they're going to argue, well, yeah, first off, you made everybody sign it. Okay, but we knew when we were signing it that it was illegal. We just didn't have anywhere else to go. Now that we do, okay, we're arguing we don't have to sign that piece of paper. You don't get to make the rules.
You don't get to choose what other events I get to play in.
Right.
Which is what they've done in the past.
Right.
You can play in this one, not this one. You can play in this one, not this one. And they've had to apply for the rights to play in events that are outside the PGA Tour and have to be granted permission by the PGA Tour.
And I think what Phil and the other 10 golfers are arguing is you can put a minimum, the whole you got to play 15 tournaments a year to be a full-time member of the tour. Okay, that's fine. But you can't deny us being able to then play over here. I mean, if we give you your 15 tournaments, okay, then the other 37 weeks, you can't tell us we can't go play. Or we could only go play in the places that you approve. It's ridiculous. That's what they're arguing. I have no idea legally who's right. To me, it sounds to me, based on our professional experience, to me, the LIV golf tour seems right.
That's funny because I think at the end of this, the PGA will win.
Okay. Because I just know, and here's what's funny, is there are guys that work 25 golf tournaments a year for CBS, who also work 12 golf tournaments a year for NBC, who are now also working the LIV tour. I mean, that's the funny thing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if it's good for the workers, how could it not be good for the golfers?
The workers didn't sign an agreement with the PGA Tour.
Well, there you go. And the golfers are going to argue, yeah, but the thing's illegal.
Miller and Moulton. We will find out, and they're always our lawyers. Not here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
ECU, Steve. ECU.
Not since one returned from Oz has any woman been this happy to be in Kansas today. An actress from Law and Order tweeted that out yesterday morning. Morning, Benny. Poll question could be, when you hear Benny, do you think Hill and the Jets, or pick some athlete's name?
I think the bartender we lost at the club, we had a bartender named Benny.
Benny?
He left for another job. Benny was the man.
I'm a Mets fan.
But out of those two, Benny and the Jets.
Okay. I'm a Mets fan. They had an outfielder on their 2000 World Series team, Benny Agbayano. So
that's what most of us think of. Yeah, Benny Agbayano.
Spitz, huh?
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com.
Nice job there, Felipe. Starting to recognize that sometimes David and I are not done with our commercial break before the microphones go hot.
Right. You did a great job yesterday also realizing that sometimes we, and by we, I mean me, are not paying attention to the show. And there were a couple times yesterday where, here we are, we're coming out of every break playing a Vin Scully highlight. I know that because I was part of the decision that this is how we were going to handle the show. And at least twice yesterday, I start talking as the Scully highlight is starting. And it's one thing to have Mark look at me in a certain way, but Felipe's looking at me like, you flipping idiot. It's a good thing I keep your microphone off. Step all over this Vin Scully call. Shut up, fat guy. I'll have your chance to talk soon enough.
Still got me thinking about that deli.
Huh?
Nothing like good deli.
Nothing like.
Who wants deli?
Nothing like thinking about carbs in the 6 o'clock hour. It is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
By the way, did you catch what young Felipe's doing now? Felipe's in between places. He's got 9 days where he needs a home before he's allowed to move into his next establishment. And I guess Felipe is staying at a hotel, and they serve breakfast. So first off, Felipe's leaving his duties here early at the end of the show because he has to get back to the hotel before 11 o'clock when they stop serving breakfast.
Okay.
So that's number 1. But then also what it sounds like he's doing, and I'm guessing based on what he did this morning, is he's not only finishing from the buffet, he's taking stuff with him to the room. Because...
So you basically are trying to take care of your September breakfast in your new place.
Yeah, essentially.
Because I don't know if you noticed this morning, and I don't think you did because you bring in enough coffee, you don't have to head over to the other side till at least the 8 o'clock hour. But I had to get a water refill before the show, and Felipe's in there with fresh bagels. Okay, he's toasting them away, and he's buttering them up and what have you. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, like Felipe went to a grocery store, bought these bagels. I looked at the size of the bagels, and I went, those are hotel bagels.
Did the good old look left, look right, take.
Listen, when you're paying whatever it is you're paying, you can get a
breakfast
napkin.
doesn't say one bagel.
No, it's a buffet, baby.
Oh, there's another one waiting for me in the 8 o'clock hour. You want one?
So
Not a chance.
Don't threaten me with that, because my answer would always be yes. Hey, the NFL announced, Mark, they're going to appeal Deshaun Watson's suspension. No, there's more. They get to appeal the suspension to themselves. That's right, Roger Goodell, per the collective bargaining agreement, either he or someone he appoints. And boy, what an independent thinker they're going to be.
Let me talk to you about what I need you to do before I appoint you.
Listen, I'm thinking about appointing you as the judge and jury in this case. Just one question you have to answer. How long do you think Deshaun Watson should be suspended for? Oh, I think he should get a year.
You're hired.
We're not making this up. Don't you feel like this is like from The Onion? Is this like a sports version of an SNL
It
skit?
really is.
This is the National Football League. It's kind of a big deal.
That's a great way of putting it. The sports version of an SNL skit.
It's just,
yeah.
this is the truth. I wish we were joking.
Meanwhile, Calvin Ridley will not be playing this season.
Yeah, but and I get it, but he bet on a game.
I understand that, but he bet on his boys to play well.
Don't care.
Ugh.
That's very simple. This bothers me. We already know that the NFL has a WWE NASCAR way of justice. Don't compare one to the other. It doesn't make any sense.
That is the one thing I will say. I mean, listen, the NFL's messed up, obviously. I mean, think about what we're talking about here. But they do have different lanes of justice. Gambling falls in its own lane. PEDs falls in its own lane. This is personal conduct. That's its own lane. That's actually what Judge Robinson is saying.
And unlike I-75, you don't switch from one lane to the other.
Right. You're either driving in the gambling lane, you're driving in the PED lane, or you're driving in the personal conduct lane. That's why there are some that are arguing the NFL, if the arbiter in this next appellate round is going to do their job properly, they think, you know what? Judge Robinson's verdict was the right one. I mean, if you read her decision, I believe she basically said, I'd love to give him more. I think he's a bad dude. He was a predator. He has not shown any remorse. But you've got 32 instances in which the suspension was 6 games. I don't see how I can give him more than that. So we'll see. Hall of Fame game tonight.
Yes.
In Jacksonville. Well, not in Jacksonville. It's in Canton, Ohio. That's why it's a Hall of Fame game. But the Jags are playing the Raiders. Who's favorite again?
The Raiders are favored by 2.5, David.
Is that all because Trevor Lawrence isn't playing?
Hey, they've got to put a line on it because people will gamble.
Or because they think their third stringers are better than the Jags, which, I think is a fair assumption to make.
Yes.
I mean, if the first stringers are better, in theory, the second stringers are better, and the third stringers are better, right?
Well, we think the Raiders are a potential playoff team. We think Jacksonville's going to be Jacksonville again.
The Raiders were a playoff team last year. And you know how we look at certain teams and we think, oh, well, they may have made it last year, but they're not going to make it this year. Like, I think a lot of people look at the AFC and they would put a check mark next to either the Patriots or the Steelers as teams who made it last year but don't this year. When you look at the Raiders, I mean, they do look like a better team on paper this year than last.
Absolutely.
Right? So, therefore, do you think of the Raiders again as a playoff team? Now, you could also argue the whole rest of their division, at least the Chargers-Broncos part of it, clearly got better. So, in theory, you could be a better team this year. The AFC could be tougher, and you could miss out. Raiders-Jags tonight. Raiders by 2.5. Hey, 11 golfers on the LIV Tour, including Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau, are suing the PGA Tour for antitrust violations. They believe they have a great case. Some agree. Some do not, including the PGA Tour. It's Phil, it's Bryson, it's Ian Poulter, it's Carlos Ortiz, it's Jason Kokrak, it's Pat Perez, Abraham Answer, Peter Uihlein, and then these last 3, Taylor Gooch, Hudson Swafford, and Matt Jones. I mentioned those 3 last because, Mark, they're trying to do what Poulter did over in Europe before the Scottish Open. Get that temporary restraining order to allow them to play in the FedEx Cup playoffs.
You have to hope for that. I mean, you really do, David. For what we do for a living, I want to see those 3 out there in the playoff.
One interesting tidbit that came out of this LIV suit, Phil and DeChambeau claim that their suspensions from the PGA Tour last for 2 years. or at least through the end of March of 2024. And what's relevant about that is that the World Golf Ranking points are 2 years. You accumulate points for 2 years. So if their suspensions are, in fact, 2 full years, and right now you play in a World Golf Ranking event, you don't get any points. So the only points they would get in would be the major tournaments that they play in, and maybe if they want to play some extra golf on the Asian Tour or what have you, which Patrick Reed's already said he's doing. He signed up for 2 Asian Tour events here in the next month. But basically, all of these golfers who left the PGA Tour for the LIV Tour, the PGA Tour has said, well, you can come back in 2 years. Of course, you'll have no standing whatsoever. None. Zip, zilch, nada. You can't get into squat. But your suspension's over. Baseball. The Rays used 5 pitchers, held the Jays to 4 hits. Beat them 3-2. Seattle beat the Yankees 7-3. They scored 6 in the first off Garrett Cole. Fortunately, he's only under contract for like 5 more years. Orioles doubled up Texas 6-3. Mark, they swept the Rangers despite getting rid of Trey Mancini and their closer Lopez. 5 runs in the last 3 innings for Baltimore. Houston beat Boston 6-1. Trey Mancini homered for the Astros. Twins beat the Tigers 4-1. Jorge Lopez got the save. Guardians beat Arizona 7-4. Ahmed Rosario with a 3-run homer early. White Sox 4-1 over the Royals. Jose Abreu with a 3-run homer in the win. National League, Marlins shut out Cincinnati 3-0. Alcantara, his 3rd complete game of the year, that leads the majors.
With 3.
He threw a 6-hit shutout. Mets led 9-0 going to the 9th. They held on 9-5 against Washington. They're 3.5 up on the Braves, 4 in the loss column. Atlanta lost at home to the Phillies 3-1. Castellanos with a 2-run homer in the 8th to win it. Pirates came from behind, beat the Brewers 8-7. Brian Reynolds, a walk-off homer in the 9th. See, if Milwaukee had Josh Hader, that might not have happened.
Well played.
Just saying. Dodgers shut out the Giants 3-0. San Diego beat Colorado 9-1. Cubs Cardinals were rained out. They'll play a doubleheader today. A's beat Ohtani 3-1. Quick look at the standings. Yankees and Astros leads are 11. Dodgers lead is 11.5. Then the 3 tight division races. Twins lead by a game over the Guardians, by 2 over the White Sox. Brewers lead by a 1.5 over the Cards. Mets lead by 3.5 over the Braves. Tampa Bay is the final playoff team in the American League. They lead Cleveland by a game, Baltimore by a 1.5, White Sox by 2, Red Sox by 3. So 5 teams right now battling for that final playoff spot, and the Mariners are just a game ahead of the Rays. So you got 6 teams within 5 games of one another for the final 2 playoff spots in the American League.
It should be just a tremendous race between the Central and the Wild Card. The American League should be a lot of fun.
There are a couple of interesting parts of the wild card race in the National League. The Braves have a 3-game lead on the Padres. The reason that has meaning is that's 4 seed versus 5 seed. Well, the best of 3, the better seed's going to host every game. Well, think about it if you're San Diego. Your payroll is like $220 million right now. That owner would kind of like those 3 games to be at home. Forget the whole, you think you got a better chance of winning at home. Hell, I want the damn payday.
Right.
I got to pay for these guys.
They've not been a playoff team. This is San Diego,
Right.
where the fan base is now all in because what has the ownership done? They've gone all in.
So there's that whole battle. Phillies, by the way, are half a game up on the Cardinals for the final playoff spot in the NL. 2 other sports notes. Cowboys signed 30-year-old linebacker Anthony Barr. He had played the first 8 years of his career with the Vikings. It's a 1-year deal. We talk all the time about, what can certain guys get if they're not signed before camp and this, that, and the other thing. Some guys have made out okay. Guys get hurt and what have you. They've signed $8-9 million deals. Anthony Barr, 1 year, $2 million. Potentially he could earn another $1 million in incentives. That's it. Yeah, Barr's been making like 6 times that the last few years. And in women's college basketball, Paige Buchers tore her left ACL. She's the star of UConn's women's team. She was playing in a pickup game. She will miss the season. could mean her college career is over because she is eligible for the WNBA draft after this coming season. And if you were her and you've had 2 major injuries now, don't you go get paid, start making some money? Don't know how long your career is going to last. So that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
we got to come up with a poll question. We've got lawsuits we can consider. Who has a better chance upon appeal? Deshaun Watson or the LIV golfers? I mean, we go a lot of different ways.
There's a lot of different ways you can go, particularly regarding the lawsuits. But I like the LIV golfers' chances a lot better in their lawsuit than I do Deshaun Watson's in his appeal, or in the NFL's appeal, I should say.
Listen, this is such a joke that at this point, Goodell should just bring in Judge Judy.
Well, I know she thinks he should get a year.
I mean, we might as well just televise this, right? Make a show
Well,
out of it.
that would be.
Put it on the NFL Network, right?
You could wrap up Hard Knocks and just give me the cold case, Deshaun Watson versus the NFL.
Rex Ryan or Mike Westhoff could hear the case too. That'd be entertaining. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. But Adam made a good point. in the Twitch chat room when we were talking about the editorial, or not editorial, the antitrust violations and independent contractors. And Adam said, you know who'll be paying close attention to this? The pro wrestlers.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, it's National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. Paul, that's a good one. National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day.
I think there is, but you'd have to go, what's the second best cookie? Because chocolate chip would win.
Well, how about this with your chocolate chip cookie? Do you like nuts with it or not?
It's a chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, I agree. But some people like chocolate chips with, like, you also add a nut.
Did you say a chocolate chip and nut cookie?
Never heard people refer to it as a chocolate chip and nut cookie. It's just
Neither have I. It's a chocolate chip cookie.
It's still predominantly chocolate chip, just sometimes there are also nuts added to it.
I like a crunchy chocolate chip cookie. That's your question, KW. That's it. Soft and gooey or crispy?
I like my cookies like my bacon.
Crispy.
Right.
Which is a little bit of a work in our house because the wife prefers soft and she's the baker. So I got to.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is terrible. Deli, now chocolate chip cookies, and I'm starving.
Are you really?
I didn't really eat yesterday. I mean, I'm trying to shape up. So I can.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I know. Right, Heidi's dad, but it's an oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. Hence, not really a chocolate chip cookie. It's a combo cookie. And I would think oatmeal raisin before I think oatmeal chocolate chip, and I'd still say yuck, Paul. I'm with you. Thank you for making me vomit in my mouth, KW. I'm not nearly as hungry as I was.
Huh.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday of August. And with it brings preseason football. Grown men, helmets, shoulder pads, hitting one another, sweating. You've missed it so. 172 days ago was the Super Bowl. 7 days away from our Fantasy Football Summit. You want to win money? Go to the Fantasy Football Summit. One of the 20 best fantasy football and fantasy experts in the country is Dr. Roto. We're bringing him to you. Ask him anything you want. Take notes if you'd like. And then he's going to give you his cheat sheet for your draft and to follow during the season.
Sign up before the other players in your league do.
Right.
What I'm hoping for is that someone thinks they're going to be sneaky. They sign up and they show up and see like someone else from their league at the event.
Sitting on the other end of the room.
Right.
How you doing?
Oh, you're here.
Hey, Charlie. Good to see you.
Hello, Newman.
So go to floridasportsnetwork.com, sign up for that. Otherwise, we're 23 days away from week 0, 28 days away from week 1 of the college football season, and 5 weeks tonight, baby. Bills and Rams at SoFi. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, just wondering who the quarterback's going to be for the Rams in that game.
Come
Boy,
on.
these elbow things, they're getting a little nervous in Ram world.
Well, I agree with that. Jimmy G will look great in a Rams jersey. Isn't that funny? Right now, the 2 best options potentially for Jimmy G are Seattle and the Rams. He's cleared to practice or work out or whatever. That sounds to me like he passed the physical. So now, in theory, they can trade/cut him. Right?
Correct.
Think the Niners are just waiting to see how this whole Deshaun Watson thing plays out?
You have to. Don't you think? I mean, you want to ship him to Cleveland if that's, even though Cleveland's given no indication that they want Jimmy G.
No, Mark. They're sold on Jacoby Brissett. All right? We've brought him. We know what we have with Jacoby Brissett. He fits our offense. If it's not Deshaun, it'll be Jacoby. Mark my words.
Unless, of course, we can get Jimmy G for a song.
And if Deshaun's suspended for more than 6 games, because we can't win anything with Jacoby Brissett. Who are we kidding?
We looked at the first 6 games. We think we can get by 3-3 with Jacoby Brissett.
But we think we could go 4-2, 5-1 with Jimmy G. I don't know if you're paying attention to the AFC, but it's pretty damn good. Just quick tangent on that note. We think there are 3 teams out of 16 in the AFC where if they don't make the playoffs, they can still have a successful season. Jacksonville, Houston, and the Jets. Isn't it fair to say of the other 13 teams, it will not be a successful season unless they make the playoffs?
100%. Now, I think expectations are a little high in some spots.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think Pittsburgh's a playoff team. If Pittsburgh doesn't make the playoffs, I don't think they should be disappointed. They will be.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
If the New England Patriots don't make the playoffs, so they will be disappointed. I won't be surprised.
but they will be disappointed.
Correct.
Right.
No, I think you are 100% correct. I would just add those 2 teams to the mix.
Now, just to show you how much different the AFC is than the NFC. How many teams in the NFC can miss the playoffs and still have a season that is not considered a disappointment? They can actually say, you know, hey, we got a few things accomplished this year. I'm okay with what we did. Well, the Giants are certainly on that list. If the Giants went 7-10.
Is anybody else in that division on that list? Where's Washington is not?
No, they think they have to have a winning season and or make the playoffs.
Atlanta's on that list.
Definitely on that list. Now, the interesting team is Carolina, because Carolina would probably not agree with our premise, and we think they're living in fantasy land.
It's not a good roster.
It's not an awful roster. Okay, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to make the playoffs.
Okay, but let's leave them off for now.
Okay. Well, let's go to the north.
Well, Chicago and Detroit.
Yes.
Without even
hesitating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the Lions were to go 7-10, 8-9, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they can't consider that a failure. They just went 3-13-1, for goodness sakes. Year 2 of a 6-year plan for the GM and the coach.
I think Seattle would be on that list.
Absolutely.
That's it, by the way.
Okay, but you and I would add Carolina into the mix. They would appeal.
Right.
They would, Deshaun Watson it. They would file a motion in federal court, even though our guidelines would win. So while there's only 3 of 16 teams in the AFC that wouldn't consider the season a disappointment unless they made the playoffs, we think it's 6 of 16 in the NFC. That's a big difference. I mean, because then if you think of it, and you remember, we're putting Washington on that list. who you and I are kind of looking at one another, kind of rolling our eyes a little bit. I mean,
And if they were in any other division, really and truly, if
Right.
Washington was in any other division, realistically, we don't think they could look themselves in the mirror and say that they have a potential to be a playoff team. But in the NFC East, I think they believe that they still can win that division.
so that's just the difference between the two conferences right there. It's also why, if we're right and Carolina's on the list, you got 10 teams competing for 7 spots, as opposed to 13 teams competing for 7 spots. And that's how much tougher the road is in the AFC this year. But, all right, back to the whole Deshaun Watson NFL thing. So Jeff Darlington, amongst many, but I'm just reading his tweet because I have it in front of me. He said, listen, the NFL is appealing for, the whole minimum of a year with an indefinite suspension on the back end. But here's the other thing. They're going to be throwing a fine in the equation. And apparently it's going to be fun. It's going to be, could get close to the Daniel Snyder $10 million fine is what people are saying, that this could be like $6-8 million.
The NFLPA is going to freak out about the fine. Freak out.
Once again, we looked it up the other day. Biggest fine a player has ever been fined, not suspended and salary loss, but fined. $760,000.
I am telling you right now, that's going to be the bone of contention for the NFLPA, David. Not the games they'll take up and they'll try to do what they can. But when you make a fine 10 times higher than, anywhere between at minimum 6 times higher and 10 times higher than any other fine a player's ever received, they are going to go bananas.
And I'll say it again. I don't think they have any recourse. We've read the CBA. All right. It makes him judge, jury, and executioner. Period. End of sentence. With no appeals process afterwards. It's a 2-step process. If you enter into this part of the equation, it's a 2-step process. Judge Robinson was step 1. Then either side can appeal with step 2. NFL decided within 72 hours they were going to appeal. Who are they appealing to?
Well, that's the NFL, David.
Say that again, Mark. The NFL has decided to appeal.
And they have appealed to themselves.
There you go.
Can't make it up.
Did I miss anything? Or was there not a peep out of Berea, Ohio yesterday? From Watson, from the NFLPA, or from the Browns? Has anybody from that side of the aisle said a word?
No, that'll come today.
And I think it'll be something along the lines of Jane, you ignorant slut. But
I think it'll be like this text we got. It says the NFL is a joke. Deshaun passed 2 juries and still could face an indefinite suspension, innocent until proven guilty.
But I would say to that gentleman, assuming it's a gentleman, sir, you would have to acknowledge that the NFL has had its own system of justice for a while. They have suspended many other people who were not even charged with a crime. Roethlisberger didn't get charged.
Nope. Well, did Ray Rice?
I thought so. After the video appeared,
after the video, he did.
She wouldn't press charges, but they still basically, I think, made him go to like some counseling.
That's right.
I thought.
No,
it was a while ago. But so, the NFL's had this distorted, quote unquote, justice system, unquote, for a while now. I mean, it's kind of like the WWE. You do whatever the heck they want.
Another texter just asked, I still wonder how the NFLPA even agreed to that.
Because it's all about the Benjamins with that union. Listen, we've talked to players from 30, 40 years ago in which they've been involved in union matters, and which at the end of the day, the NFLPA has always been about the money. in part because you got to remember, you got nearly 2,000 people in the union. So it's just, there's too many guys. This is what people who have been a part of the NFLPA have said. The reason it's just too many to get them to, fight for a cause. Also, the careers are so short. They're kind of like, listen, I can't afford to miss games. I got to get paid. It's all about the money, man. Get me as much money as I can. And then the fallback, of course, is, well, this is never going to apply to me. Whereas, like the baseball union, they'll strike over a cause. They'll strike over something that could affect 4 guys. That goes all the way back to Marvin Miller. The baseball union, they can take on a cause. Well, this will affect 7 players in arbitration. Yeah, we don't care. We ain't agreeing to this. And they've done it. That's not how the NFLPA does business. Tell you what, it sounds like the NBA is actually going to play a little hardball with the NBA Players Association also. And this will be interesting because this will be the first time where it's not David Stern in a long time playing hardball with the NBA.
And the Stars run the NFL and NBA PA, rather, not the NFL, but the NBA Players Association is run by
Stars.
LeBron, Chris Paul. I mean, these are the top players running that union. So it will be a very different negotiation than they've had in the past.
So there you have it. NFL's looking for, well, what they presented to Judge Robinson. We want a year minimum. We want an indefinite suspension on the back end. And by the way, I want to be able to fine this guy millions of dollars. Who's going to hear this case? Oh, yeah, us. We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. DC, it's kind of like when we ask a poll question and then people try to change the question or the answers. Premise was a team in the NFC that will be disappointed if they don't make the playoffs. The season will be considered a disappointment unless they make the playoffs. And you tried to change it to, well, I think the third place team in the NFC North will be disappointed if they don't win at least 7 games. That's a little different than what we were asking.
In fact, what David said is if the Lions go 7-10, 8-9, they would look at that as a pretty good season.
I don't see how you could not. You went 3-13-1 last year. You put 7-10 on the board. You've literally doubled your win total. And then you think to yourself, hey, next year we're going to be a playoff team. We're turning this thing around. Okay. DC. Mark and I both think the Bears are going to finish last this year, right? I certainly do. Do you?
Yes.
Do you think that the Bears will consider, the GM and the coach of the Bears will consider this season a disappointment if they miss the playoffs? I don't think so. I think they know that first off, they're both first-time GMs, head coaches. Why? Because of the situation the Bears are in, and they're helping to tear it down.
Right. It's the same thing. You ask the same question of the Giants, basically. They know what they've got coming into New York.
DC, no. But once again, the premise of the question is not who's going to finish third in the NFC North. The question was a team that considers their season a disappointment if they don't make the playoffs.
The Dolphins.
Well, yeah, and most of the AFC. The Jets, Jags, and Texans are the only 3 teams in the AFC. Everyone else thinks the season's been a disappointment. I agree, Jim. I think the Bears have a chance to be on the clock.
I don't think the Steelers would be disappointed if they didn't make the playoffs.
Yes, they will. It's the effing Pittsburgh
That's a good
Steelers.
point. Yeah, it's the freaking Steelers.
I think he missed the last segment.
Yeah, well, he was falling asleep.
He was
a
falling
little
asleep
tired.
over there.
He was dozing.
You slept.
know.
We just got done. This was a segment.
No,
You're
I know.
literally asking questions
was
about the
dozing.
last segment that we did. You were sound asleep.
Yeah, you were.
No.
He was
You
fine.
were.
He was dozing.
You were out when he came back with 4. He was asleep for 2 minutes.
He's dozing over there. I will say his breakfast smells really good. It's like halfway down the hallway.
Dude, I was walking up to it and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
I got some cups of water, though, ice cold water, and just splashed it on my face right now. So I should be good for this show.
For another 30 seconds.
No.
As soon as we start talking again, hypnosis puts you right out. I don't understand Twitch chat because I'm literally blocking this.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Hey, thanks for being with us. On this first Thursday of August, we got football tonight, baby. I mean, I don't include myself in that equation. Do you consider tonight football?
No.
I mean, it's basically you're asking that in our poll question, aren't you, in some way, shape, or form?
It is. The poll question is very simply, how much of the Hall of Fame game will you watch tonight? Who's playing is the first answer. I'll turn it on. Most of it, I bet on it. So far, none of you have bet on it. I'm proud of you.
All right. You know what? This audience, we got a little more going on than we give ourselves credit for. Yeah.
But nearly 60% of you are wondering who's playing. 36% of you say you'll turn it on. And 7% of you say you're going to watch most of it.
Wow.
I'm pretty proud of our audience by those answers right there.
Watch most of it, huh? Boy. All right. Okay. Raiders and Jags, by the way, that's who's playing. With Las Vegas, a 2.5-point favorite. Yes, we went there. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. That's where you go to answer our poll question. It's also where you go to sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit, which is a week from tonight. Shoeless Joe's in the Bell Tower Shops, Crown Plaza, Fort Myers, 7 o'clock. So if you're listening, Port Charlotte and Venice and whatever, you come down. I mean, it's no big deal or anything. It's only your fantasy football team, which, let's face it, during the football season ranks just below your family and friends, right? Or actually just below your family and ahead of your friends. I mean, come on now. Admit it. It's okay to admit it to yourself as to where it is you rank your fantasy football experience and your team and how important it is to you. Family, fantasy football, friends. Am I out of line?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, you got confused earlier I think it was Monday when I made the comment that, had a great weekend, spent a lot of time with my family. I won't be seeing him all that much. And David said, where are you going? I said, nowhere. Football season starts in a month.
Just thought you caught me off guard with that one. I'm not going to be seeing him. I'm like, well, wait, are you traveling too? Where are you going? Now I'm traveling in my living room. I got the two big screens. And I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on. They're going to be around you. Mark was looking at me like, yeah, but I'm not going to be paying attention to them. Doesn't matter.
My daughter hates football season.
Really?
Yeah. She hasn't by any means grasped any part. I mean, she knows she knows a touchdown's worth 6 and an X. She's got the concepts down, but it takes dad away.
Yeah, but I mean,
Try to get her to watch together.
Well, it's true. I mean, think about it. It's Thursday.
Although Thursday she's in bed.
Yeah, so
it's really Saturday and Sunday.
So it's the weekend. Yeah. It's to an 8-year-old. That's a big deal.
It is. Dad, let's go to the pool. I'm sorry. There's a drive going on right now. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you know what you're going to have to do? You're just going to have to, make sure you got the TVs outside that you can do it from the pool.
There's always one out there for that reason. But I think I'm starting to – tonight will be interesting because I'll put the Hall of Fame game on just to see what the daughter says.
The other big story in sports, which – I don't know, could be more interesting. I think also this is a story that's being misrepresented. Now, you tell me if I'm wrong. Much like last segment when we were talking about the Deshaun Watson suit and Felipe brought up Calvin Ridley and other people are bringing up, DeAndre Hopkins and all that. And we're saying, once again, that's misrepresenting the story. There's a gambling lane. Penalties are clear. There's a PED lane. Gambling, penalties are clear. The personal conduct lane is the messed up lane. That's the lane that needs to be repaved. That's just a mess. Potholes everywhere. Not a consistent ride. Sometimes there's the 18-wheeler in that lane. It doesn't belong. Sometimes it's okay if the 18-wheeler is allowed in the lane. It's a completely messed up lane. That's the personal conduct penalties lane. I believe this golfing story is being misrepresented because they're suing themselves. Members of the PGA Tour, if they're suing the tour, they're suing themselves. Come on. Come on now. You really think they're suing themselves? First off, do we really think, based on the actions of the last 6 months, that the players have been running the PGA Tour? I mean, come on, Mark.
It is. I don't know how much of changing the World Golf events and adding purses. I would think all of this will be part of some sort of defense when this goes on. But with what I'm going to combine the two things. The NFL Watson case.
Right.
If I'm the NFL, don't I just read Judge Robinson's decision as my appeal?
Right.
See, she said here,
he
did
predator.
this, and this.
Right.
She basically said she wanted to suspend him more, but precedent. And we think this exceeds any precedent because there are 24 acts.
And we're now in position because this is the first case under the new CBA in which this system of justice applies. So we're going to make new precedent.
And the golf folks just say, okay, what we asked for was less cuts. They've done it to these 5 events. We think that there's been more money. They've added money to these 14 events, not to mention this tour, the DP World Tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, and they've changed basically the way you get on the tour because of what we've demanded.
Right.
The defense rests. There's so many things that the golf one fascinates me because I just think the PGA with their membership, and I understand the point you make. Well, you signed up for something that clearly states what you can and cannot do. I mean, that seems to be the crux of this to me.
Yeah, so the PGA Tour is going to say. They're going to say, well, you see all these guys here? Here's their signature at the bottom of the thing. It says they need our permission to go play in these tours. And they're going to say, yeah, we're independent contractors. You say so clearly, by the way, on that sheet of paper that we're independent contractors. Therefore, you should not be legally allowed to attach certain addendums to it, quite frankly. If we're independent contractors, then we're independent contractors. Your Honor, what do you think? And that's why I don't believe that, the whole, well, now they're suing themselves. And, Justin Thomas, well, that means they're suing me. No, they're not suing you.
No, in fact, we've already...
They're suing Jay Monahan.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest here. They're suing the guy who came up with that sheet of paper. Did you and Rory sit down and write that sheet of paper? No, those were the rules when you guys agreed to be on tour. They're fighting this going all the way back. That's what they're fighting. They're fighting the rules of the tour. They're not fighting you. What, you're angry because they're, the legal fees? Please. That's already been accounted for. Remember, there's $800 million in reserves. Trust me. And besides, you should thank us. We've increased damn near all the damn purses on tour. You wouldn't have that if it wasn't for us. I mean, honestly, the LIV
what, are you going
golfers.
Ricky Gervais there?
No,
thank
Jack
your agent,
Nicholson.
thank your God. And...
No. I think that the LIV tour should pull Jack Nicholson. I think you should, salute me and say thank you, and then get out of my way. Seriously, if I'm the LIV, that's the attitude I'm taking. Now, Nicholson lost. Okay,
and because the LIV Tour may lose too.
Right. And
these golfers, I should say.
So, yeah, these guys are suing on behalf of the LIV Tour. I mean, I don't think that these 11 golfers are going to pay a dime in legal fees.
No,
I think the LIV Tour is picking it all up.
I think that was negotiated before they even joined the tour. When the lawsuits come, we'll pay for that as well. I don't think they went and asked for permission to sue and said, could you guys pick this up, if you know what I mean?
Now, Taylor Gooch, Hudson Swafford, Matt Jones, who are trying to get a court injunction to get in the FedEx Cup playoffs, I think they got to foot that bill themselves. Just like I think Poulter had to foot the bill to get in the Scottish Open. Miller and Moulton. JP Shadrick live from Canton, top of the hour.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Start there.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame game betting preview. You really want to play the under. Wow, it's low. And it still usually hits. The over-under is 30.
All right. How will okay, O-line without the center. Tight ends. So O-line, tight ends. Where else? Let me guess. You're going to ask an ATN question. You're going to ask an ATN question, aren't you?
Hey, Adam, you better just copy and paste those, because if they're going to go away on the Twitch chat in a half hour, and I'm not going to look them up. And I promise you this, if you type them at 8 o'clock, I will ask every one of them, as long as they're legit questions. I seriously will.
I'm going to remember them. He's asking about the O-line. He's asking about tight ends. And I think his third question was going to be about Travis Etienne. He may change it now. You can't combine the two. That's terrible, Adam. You wouldn't give me credit. I figured out your third question. You wouldn't give it to me. I'm not going to ask about ATN because of it. Fine. Nope. Couldn't give me that bone, Adam, could you? Couldn't give it to me. Actually, can I Can I throw one thing at you before you go Roadhouse?
You do whatever you want.
Oh, no, not necessarily.
I'm fine.
Adam, I really think we could take the interview from here. I mean, I appreciate it. But
15 seconds.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate that. Probably any surprises. Thanks, Adam. I've never done these interviews before, so I
Right.
appreciate it.
This is new to us, Adam, so thank you.
Come back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. 1 week from tonight, our Fantasy Football Summit with Dr. Roto, who will join us 1 hour from now. Talk a little fantasy, talk about the event. I mean, what do you do about Deshaun Watson? There's a good chance, by the way, the situation's not resolved by the time you're doing your fantasy draft. So we'll ask Dr. Roto what it is he's thinking about what to do with Deshaun. Along those lines, can you be Deshaun and I play the NFL?
Please no, but sure, for this I will.
How about this? How about Deshaun's attorney?
Okay.
Deshaun's counsel. Well, it seems to me as if reports were true that a week or so before the judge rendered her decision this past Monday, doesn't it seem a long time ago as opposed to 3 days ago?
It does.
But
Maybe
apparently
because we waited for 3 months to get the
Right.
decision.
the week leading up to it, they apparently were negotiating. And the NFL came off of the year. They were willing to settle for 12 and a fine. Deshaun, according to reports, was not willing to go beyond 6 to 8 games. So in theory, they were 4 games apart and probably the fine as well. But let's just stick with the games. Well, when the NFL goes, if you're Deshaun, don't you maybe now want to negotiate a settlement? I mean, let's just, get rid of the sham, because in theory, the NFL could totally stick it to you here. I mean, I know you think you're going to sue and somebody's telling you you're going to win. You're not going to win. Okay. I mean,
Well, yes.
you're not going to win. If you can find me, by the way, the player who won in federal court taking on the NFL, I'll sit here and wait. You're not going to win. All right. Stop listening to your attorney. Deshaun, listen to me. You're not going to win. And unless I change my mind, I'm going to stick it to you. I'm giving you a year. I might even give you more. And I'm going to fine you about $8 million. Unless you'd like to settle this. So, what's your best offer to me?
Here's the part that I wonder on, because if he said 8 games and $4 million or whatever, could they come to a settlement? Since the rumor was 8 million was what they were looking for. I'm just splitting the difference here.
Yeah, okay.
6 to 12, I'll take 8 and 4 and walk out the door. I just wonder on the fine how much the NFLPA is in the room over Deshaun Watson's shoulder.
I understand, but Deshaun, I'm talking to you. Okay, the union's
So
in the lobby.
8 and 4.
So your best offer to me, because I'm sitting here and I'm not being a jerk. I'm saying you write down on a piece of paper.
8 games, $4 million.
Okay, that's not enough for me, just so you know. So I'm gonna render my verdict, and good luck. That's why I'm saying to you right now. Remember, we were here a week and a half ago, Deshaun, you and I, and you were willing to go to 8. And I looked at you and said, I can't accept a minute less than 12, just so you know. And you've been saying 6 to 8 apparently the whole time, and we were saying a year plus. I came down to 12.
Do you think they would go for 10 and 6?
See, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. Seriously, now, if you're Deshaun, this is as real as it gets. I'm not playing it, sometimes we have a little fun on the show and what have you. No, I'm being serious here. You're Deshaun and his camp, okay? We all know what a week and a half ago, you're lying in the sand. You felt good with Judge Robinson. Now maybe you're seeing Judge Robinson's decision ain't going to matter. Do you want to roll the dice? Because you could win, and it stays 6. Okay, and you could lose, at which point this mark looks like, baseball arbitration, where one side puts in their offer and the other side puts in theirs. And there's no middle ground. The arbiter has to either rule one way or the other. Well, you're saying we're comfortable with 6, and the NFL's saying not a minute less than a year. So in theory, the arbiter that the NFL appoints, which could be Roger Goodell. I mean, do you like your chances in this situation?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, so once again, think it over, talk to your people, make me your best offer. I'm going to do this one time. I'm going to give you one chance to settle this. It ain't going to be 6. And I'll give you a hint. It ain't going to be 8 either. So think it over, give me your best offer, and you know what? Maybe we just make this go away.
Because remember, for Deshaun, it's what? 300,000 a game he's missing this year?
No. It's just $1 million divided by 17.
17. So yeah, it's
less than 60,000 a game.
Whereas next year it's
2.7 million a game. So that's the other thing. I rule what I rule. You fight me in federal court. You want to drag this out? Great. Hell, you know what? Just to spite you, I'll drag it out to next year. At which point it'll really cost you. Not only will you lose the 2.7 million a game, I'll still get my fine from you.
Which the Browns also, money-wise don't care, but you don't want this to go to next year if you're the Browns. You want this over with.
Damn right. So, the union's in your ear, and I respect that. The union's in your ear going, you can't accept one penalty of a fine. The Browns are in your other ear going, dude, we give you $46 million a year guaranteed.
And all this upfront money.
And all the crap that we're taking for embracing you and signing you. Make the damn deal. Make this go away. I don't care if you're happy about it. We're not happy about it. We're sucking it up. You need to suck it up.
And I think where Deshaun's focus is and his lawyer's focus is, and that's cleaning up this last civil suit, which there's talk that's going to get settled as well. And that prevents the NFL from having any other discovery down the road.
All right. Now I'm going to come in as a third party. So you got Deshaun at the table, you got Goodell at the other end of the table, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to go, let me throw a crazy idea at the both of you. 10 games, $4 million. What do you say? 10 games, $4 million.
How big do you think the league is on getting this huge fine?
I don't think, no.
It's games, right?
I think anything over 760,000, they can say they put the biggest fine on a player in league history, blah, blah, blah. In theory, you could make it $1 million and say, well, we're docking him his entire 2022 salary. We're not the ones that structured the contract the way it is. They could just, because think about what it would do, Mark. It would set the precedent that they fined a player an entire year's salary. So if I'm the league, I need $1 million fine. Because that's at least a precedent that if we're going to continue this dog and pony show for the next 10 years under the CBA, I've at least set the precedent that, hey, we can find somebody up to their full year salary. Because in this case, $1 million is his salary for 2022. It's not his earnings, but it's his salary. So I just need $1 million. First off, which side do you think would have the bigger problem accepting the 10? Think about where they are. They're 6-17 right now is where they are.
I think the league is going to have a bigger problem with it because don't you believe, as we've talked about the court of public opinion on this, that Our poll thought the suspension was too light.
Okay.
Any other poll that I've seen out there thought the suspension was too light.
Well, they're damn near doubling it. I mean,
No, I understand that, but I think the league is seeing that.
right. Well, taking 6 to 10. I mean, it's more than half the season. I mean, let's face it. Most people also, if you're a football fan and you don't really care about this, or you're just looking at it from, Browns having Deshaun, not having Deshaun. I mean, people are looking at their schedule going, they might be able to still make the playoffs without Deshaun if it's 6 games. Take a look if it's 10 and tell me if you're going to bet on the Browns to make the playoffs. The answer is no.
Absolutely no,
Right.
by the way.
So 10 significant. 6, if 6 was viewed as a little more than a slap, 10, now we're cutting.
Yeah, we've got an arm bar working at least.
Yeah. So you tell me, because if I'm Deshaun's people, that's now where I'm negotiating now. I can't let this go to Judge Judy here because I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose. Come on.
And I don't know if, while you're bringing this all up, I actually think you're right. If there is a negotiation, it would have to come from Deshaun's side. They would have to approach the league because I think right now the league's hell-bent on the appeal. If they didn't get the settlement last week, when they actually sat down and were close to a settlement, if they didn't get it then I don't think they even want it now. I actually think Raj would laugh at him if they came to him at this point. We gave you your opportunity.
See, I don't think so. I think he would look like, I'm fighting for victims. I'm fighting for women. See, women, we do care about you. We appealed. We fought for more of a punishment. We're not bad people.
No. I don't think the league is interested in hearing Deshaun in a settlement right now. I think they gave that. I think that's come and gone.
See, I don't. If you're once again now, listen, you're angered by this. Now you're Goodell and I'm the neutral party. And I go, listen, Raj, I know you've been out of shape about this. You're angry at the judge and the whole deal. You really want this?
And I don't even think they're angry at the judge. I think they're angry at Deshaun.
Okay,
David, because,
but that's fine.
Because they sat down last week and tried to work this out.
Okay, but
when they were unable to.
Right. But here's the problem, Raj. You're angry at Deshaun. I get it. You do know that they're then going to sue and they're going to get an injunction. He's going to be playing week 1 and he might play week 2, week 3, week 4. You really want that? You don't want him playing opening day. I mean, that's what now you would prefer he not play all year and what have you, but come on, you do not want him playing opening day. It will be one of the, if not the dominant storyline of week 1 of your season will be Deshaun Watson. Do you really want that? No, you don't. And you don't want to be in federal court, even though you know you're going to win. You don't want that. You want this resolved. You're looking at this right now as a loss. What number can I give you in which you will consider it a win? I'm Goodell. I do not want him playing week 1. No flipping way do I want him playing week 1. It will dominate the news coverage of week 1. So now what's the number, Raj, you can live with?
And I think Raj is hell-bent on a minimum of 12. I really do.
Okay, but now it's okay. Deshaun comes to you, gives you 10. If I was Deshaun, I would offer up 10. I would offer up 10 in $1 million. You find me my year's salary. That's enough. Biggest fine a player's
ever gotten. You think Raj would take it?
I do. I don't think he'd be happy about it. I think he'd grit his teeth. And I think he would release a statement which obliterates Deshaun. Okay? But yes, I do. Because otherwise he's playing week 1. He is. It'll get into federal courts. It'll be an injunction. Roger's going to win. Okay? But does he really? If Deshaun is playing in September, does Raj and the league win? I would argue they don't.
I would agree with that. I just think Raj is past the point of PO'd. And these things become personal with him.
Well, no doubt.
I mean, the Gruden thing was personal with him, obviously.
And it's going to be.
And it's going to continue to be. I mean, I think the Flores thing has turned, personal in certain ways. I think he despises the fact that Flores is coaching in the league. I think that honks him off. Someone sued the league and he still gets to coach. I think that bothers Raj to no end.
If you are Raj and I offer you 10 and $1 million, and
I would take it.
Okay.
I would take it.
I
don't know if Raj will.
I think you would. I really do. I mean, come on, Raj. You're already at 12. You've offered me 12. I mean, come on. You can't live with 10? Seriously.
Oh, he can live with 10. I don't think he accepts anything right now. I think that ship has sailed,
But
David.
the problem is if he doesn't accept it before the dog and pony show starts, I mean, then we're going the distance. You're going to hand down your penalty of a year or more and a big fine, and we're going to file in federal court. You know we're going to lose. We know we're going to lose. We don't care. Okay? We're going to make this as ugly as possible. By the way, when we go to federal court, you know what we all bring back up again? Robert Kraft, Jim Irsay, Daniel Snyder. It all comes back up, Raj. All of it. All of it. 10, Raj. Give me your answer.
Miller and Moulton. It will be fascinating to see. We will shift gears and go to Canton, Ohio, and talk to JP Shadrick. The Jags and the Raiders play football tonight.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Not bad, Paul. Actually, not bad. She's been practicing.
Is that Chris? No.
Your buddy's coming in tomorrow, I guess, from 7:30 to 8:30 to sit in. I thought it was a half hour. Now it's an hour.
It's a long time. So he's going to sit there?
Apparently.
We're going to ignore him?
Yep.
Huh.
Well, we might do a short segment on him.
Yeah, he might make the show. If he's stupid enough to stay here till 8:21, we're going to have to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring him on.
I don't know if we bring him on. We might just talk about him for 10 minutes. I'm going to tell him before. We're going to talk about you for the next 10 minutes of the show.
All right. What are you doing here? You know we don't work for you, right?
Right. Glad you're here.
I mean, Randy, I worked for you once before. I don't work for you now. I don't know how you take it.
You know, Mello, I'm going to let that be a surprise for you because we are going to talk about it tomorrow. And it's not going to get us in trouble.
No, it can't. It can't. Well, but Bray, don't you think that Cleveland sponsors have already wrestled with that? And that they're either still with the Browns or they're not supporting the Browns anymore? Because at some point he's playing. So as a sponsor, you had to decide if you were in or out.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour on this first Thursday of August. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dr. Roto, who is not only the featured guest, the main attraction a week from tonight at our Fantasy Football Summit. He will be joining us coming up in roughly 35 minutes' time. But we go live to Canton, Ohio. It is a big weekend for the Jaguars franchise, and they kick it off with the Hall of Fame game tonight. JP Shadrick is part of the Jags radio network. He's also the lead play-by-play voice for the Touchdown radio network on Saturdays. You can follow JP on Twitter at JP Shadrick. JP, it's David and Mark. This is a big weekend. Is this a big deal for this organization, their first Hall of Famer, right?
Yes, it is, David and Mark, and good morning. It kind of hit me, I guess, yesterday. We flew into Cleveland yesterday, Okay, no big deal. It's Cleveland. It's an hour drive. Yeah, we've talked about this all summer. Tony Baselli's in the Hall of Fame. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, okay. But then the last 3 miles before you get off the exit to go to the hotel, we're just about 3 miles north of the stadium here in Canton. There's a pedestrian walkway over the interstate kind of thing, and it's decorated. It says Stark County, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and it has the big logo on it with all these figures of football players and different poses on it. And I don't know why, but that's when it hit me. We're actually here, and our friend and colleague is going into the Hall of Fame on Saturday. And yes, there's a football game tonight. I don't know why that was the moment for me. I haven't even been to the hall yet. I'm trying to do that today before the game, if not tomorrow. But we're here, man, and football's back.
No doubt football's back. So many different ways to go with this Jags franchise, but I am just, obviously it all starts with the quarterback. What is the preseason hope for Trevor Lawrence?
Keep him upright and healthy and, get him out of there as fast as you can and get him to September 11th. Honestly, I think that's where they're at right now. He won't touch the field tonight. There's no chance. He's on the trip, I can tell you that. But I don't, he won't touch the field. And, maybe next week you get him a drive, you got to see these guys at some point. It's a new staff, see them under a little different circumstances, get a game plan kind of going. But I think you're very careful with it. The camp for him, at least so far, now it's been a short camp. There's only been 11 days of camp and 7 practices and only 2 of those in full pads since camp started. But so far, so good for Trevor. He's been accurate. The receiving crew that they brought in, a couple of new guys have come in and played pretty well so far. There were some red zone issues a couple days ago, but that happens. It's not. It doesn't feel awful. It doesn't feel like, he's going to the Hall of Fame tomorrow, but it's a good step in the right direction for Trevor, and that's what they need. His head's on straight. Let's start with that.
JP, obviously last year was a disaster. Does it look or feel any differently at this point this year than it did at this point last year? Remember, there was actually a time last offseason where, hope and expectations were pretty high. We're selling tickets, blah, blah, blah. You know better than most when it first started to go off the rails, but I'm just curious, August 4th, 2022 in comparison to August 4th, 2021, how much different does it look and feel right now?
Well, I think you kind of hit it around the main point that every offseason has that optimism, no matter really the situation, right? We've been through this a few times around here where there's a new coach, and only my 10 years now here, going into 11, this is the 5th full-time head coach. So that's 5 times I've said, the offseason's different. It feels great. We're moving forward. It's a new era of Jaguars football, right? Well, it does feel more NFL normal. And here's why I say it. I think at this time last year, there were a lot of behind the scenes, just untied issues, like logistically. I think I would guess they didn't have the schedule out for certain road trips. And you usually have that done in April, May. That's kind of the first thing that Doug Peterson did, because he understood, hey, these people have to book hotels, get the flights done. We don't need to be changing all this. I know exactly what I need to do to get a team ready for a game week to week, and we need to leave at this time and go to. So that was done. The first thing he walked in the door was that, and that wasn't done. There was that kind of behind the scenes things, and another part of it too. It's just a more approachable situation for everybody in the building. Part of that was the COVID restrictions. You couldn't go certain places the last 2 years in the building around players, certainly not me. So, but that's changed everything. And the way Doug Peterson is so approachable and warm. And yes, he's a football coach and they're trying to win games, but hey, we're all in this thing together, and that feels real this time. And he's got a skin on the wall to prove it. So his way can work. and it has worked in the NFL. That's a big deal.
Give me a position group that you think, obviously when you're picking at the top of the draft, there's not many guys that you look at going, well, they'd be starters other places. Give me a position group that you think significantly improved for the Jags heading into this season.
Oh, I think it's that's a good one. I really think the tight end room is deeper than you think. I know the New York Giants fans can be like, Evan Ingram, I don't know. But, okay, they got him. They got Dan Arnold, who had a little thing going last year before he got injured. They got Manshurts to block it up. They've got some young guys that they are confident in that can come play. That's a deeper room than you think. And I think Evan Ingram will have a big hand in that because it's not just lining up off the tackle's hip for him. He's all over the offense. And that's the trick with this offense, too. You're going to have receivers in different places, running backs all over the field, finding those matchups against the defense. And Evan Ingram, I think, will be a big part of that, at least on the offensive side. The receivers are vets. I mean, the starting three receivers in the opening depth chart they put out the other day are all like second contract, third contract guys. I don't remember the last time that happened around here. Usually they're young guys. Honestly, if you're the best receiver, it doesn't matter how old you are. But the point is those guys have been around and they've seen it before. So that, I think, will just calm Trevor's world. And all this is done, I say the tight end room and those veteran receivers, to calm Trevor's world. He needs some easier completions to get it going. Tight end can help with that. Slot receiver, right? If Christian Kirk's going to move inside and do that, okay, that's pretty reliable. So I think those are two positions, at least on the offense, that are much improved. And we'll see what it looks like on the scoreboard. It better look better than 14.8 points per game, I'll tell you that.
At least to give you something to talk about. JP Shadrick, he's part of the Jags Radio Network. He's also the lead play-by-play voice of the Touchdown Radio Network, college football on Saturdays. You can follow JP on Twitter at JP Shadrick, Shadrick. Who's winning up front in those 7 practices or 11 practices, 2 with pads? Who's winning up front? Offensive line, defensive line right now?
Yeah, good one. There's a couple of battles on the offensive line we're really kind of watching. Obviously, everybody's looking at Trayvon Walker to see how he performs. And, I couldn't tell you as a whole, hey, the D-line's beating the O-line, right? It's more kind of an individual feel, at least at this point. There's been a couple of days of one-on-one pass rush. Trayvon Walker walks off the bus, and you know exactly why he's the number 1 overall pick. I mean, the guy's an athletic freak. Josh Allen is an athletic freak, right? And then Trayvon Walker walks out. It's like, oh, okay, this is a little different now. And he's shown that a few times, which is a good thing. And there's a lot of questions this offseason. Can he actually rush the passer consistently? He didn't do a lot of that at Georgia. He did some of that. But that might not be the only trick in their bag for him. I mean, could they move him back inside some? That's where he really shines. That's a possibility. I think the offseason was just to kind of get him a position, get him in one space, see what he can do at outside linebacker, and then go from there. I think that's been a good thing. The right tackle position is up for grabs, but Jawan Taylor, unfortunately, has not been in pads yet. He's, he worked the first week, no pads, but then he got a hamstring issue. So Walker Little has had all the reps there at right tackle as of late. And, there's a lot of football in the preseason left, of course. Luke Fortner's looked pretty good at center. He's taken all the reps of the first team, and that's part of Doug Peterson's philosophy. Hey, we drafted these guys for a reason. Let's put them in there, So there's some vets around him. Brandon Sheriff at right guard. You're not worried about him. He's a perennial Pro Bowl player. And then the left guard is Tyler Shatley. It's his 9th year in the league. There's a little competition there, but so far Shatley's getting most of the reps there. And so they're happy with the offensive line so far. Still a couple of questions to be decided. The interior guys on the D-line are veteran, salty vet guys, big, strong, physical guys. So I don't think you're worried about those guys really at all, but they've got to get better against the run, and it starts right there.
Well, how are they going to be running the football? Because to me, that should be you talked about the tight ends. They've got guys to block. They've got running backs. It seems like they should be able to run the football. How's ATN been looking?
Oh, ATN looks actually really good. And I don't want to overhype it because I get he had a Liz Frank foot injury, and sometimes those can end a career, actually, to be quite frank. But he told me last week that he doesn't even think about it anymore. I wouldn't really expect him to say anything differently than that, but he said that, and that's fine. And he looks the part, too. Okay, that's one thing to say it, but then you catch a toss sweep pitch to the left and make a cut and turn on that burst. Okay, it kind of looks okay. Yeah, this is what it's supposed to look like. And like his lower half just looks a little stronger than it did last year. That's just another year in the room and another year of rehab on that foot kind of helps that lower half maybe. We'll see it. I don't know if we'll see it tonight. I don't think he's going to strap up tonight against the Raiders, but at some point in the preseason, I think you'll see him get out there and open it up a little bit. But that's a good thing because James Robinson's still off to the side now. And I don't know how close he is. Their goal was mid-August, but it's just he looks a little heavy just because he hasn't been able to run off an Achilles issue. And there's still a little hitch in that giddy-up, if you will.
All right.
He's working through that.
JP, thanks so much for your time, particularly this week and weekend in which you're going to be busy. Give our best to Tony Baselli. He's also a friend of the show. And enjoy the weekend. Get to the Hall of Fame today. They may not let you in tomorrow and Saturday, all right?
That's sage advice. Thank you very much. We're excited for Tony. It's going to be a fun weekend, and it's one that Jaguars fans will always remember. Thank you.
JP Shadrick, part of the Jags Radio Network. Jags and Raiders Hall of Fame game tonight. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Adam's doing Oklahoma drills in his office with nobody right now. He's in a 3-point stance. He's just hit something.
Bray, I think behind that offensive line, he will have something left in the tank. And I know the line's not as good as it was 2 years ago, but it's a lot better than what he was playing behind in Atlanta. Plus, he was always playing from behind last year in Atlanta, really the last couple of years. So, and midway through last year, Ryan had nobody to throw to outside of the rookie tight end. So, although I got to admit, I don't know who he has to throw to in Indianapolis. I can't believe your team. Yeah. I can't believe your team hasn't done more at the wide receiver position. I'd sign Odell, and I know he might not be able to play till after Thanksgiving. I don't care. You need receivers. I'm sorry.
You know, Adam, it's really not fair because we've got all these, Dolphin fans, and I don't know how many Bucs fans. We have all these fans of different teams. So you're the only Jags fan, so you take the brunt of the shots here, because I think every time we do a Dolphins interview, there's 10 people that are acting the same way. At least. Adam, who's the Jags season opener? Can you get to 1-0?
It's not the Colts, is it? Or is week 2 the Colts?
They can't do that to the Colts 2 years in a row, can they?
Because the Colts, I think, are on the road to the Texans and Jags to start the year. They get, in theory, their 2 easiest road games.
Commanders, they can go 1-0. It's on the road, but they can beat Washington. Then they've got the Colts at home. They could be 2-0. I mean, they're not losing to the Colts at home.
It's just unreal how much they own the Colts.
If Miami starts out 2-2, that's fantastic.
Well, the Dolphins are going to beat the Patriots week 1.
Okay.
I really believe that. So
then at Baltimore, home for Buffalo, at Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I mean,
I'm serious. If they're 2-2, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think
don't be 1-3.
I think that. Well, but if you're thinking playoffs, I think 2-2 is least common denominator. Put it this way: would you, if you're a Dolphin fan, would you sign up for 2-2?
I would.
I would too.
I would
sign up for 2-2.
15 seconds.
Look at that. Go Raiders. Who are you rooting for tonight?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hall of Fame game tonight. Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight. 23 days away, 3 weeks Saturday, week 0, college football season. 4 weeks tonight, week 1 gets underway. Takes 5 days to get week 1 in the books. They play football right on through Labor Day, Monday night. And 5 weeks tonight, NFL season kicks off for real with the Bills and the Rams. I'm not taking the Stafford elbow thing as seriously as you are. Am I off base here?
An elbow injury to a quarterback seems like that could be something that would be problematic.
I understand, but what kind of thing are we talking here? It's just it's a little sore. Maybe the other guys have to make all the throws in camp. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't know if he has to pick up a football before September 1st.
Not much. But I don't want his first throws to be in September.
I mean, how many throws does he have to make to Cooper Kupp to be ready for the start of the season?
It's a great question. Shouldn't be that many.
I mean, they targeted him about 250 times last year and completed about 150 of them.
Hey, I don't know if it's that I'm concerned. I just want to keep bringing it up. So if it is more, I don't want people to go, hey, you guys never even mentioned that he was hurt. Well, he's starting the season injured. I never think that's a good thing when if he were a starting pitcher starting the season with an elbow injury, would you be concerned?
5 weeks before the start of the season, an elbow, depends on what they're saying. We're going to just give him a couple days off. All right. Okay. All right. Never had elbow problems before. Interesting that he's feeling a little soreness on March 1st, if you will. Oh,
right.
Okay.
All
right. I'm not worried yet, though.
I'm not worried.
Gotcha. That voice, though, that you did. That
the banana in the tailpipe type.
Well,
voice there?
it was about 70%
right
on the way to being. I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Right. So that's the general. Is that Rams fan or is that just generic?
I think it's Rams fan.
Okay.
There are some now finally, which is a good thing.
That's right. They're willing to admit to it, at least for the start of this year. Dr. Roto, speaking of the Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight, the good doctor will join us in about 15 minutes.
So I caught this story that Conor McGregor is going to jump into the acting pit. He is going to be part of the remake of the film Roadhouse. Jake, is it Gyllenhaal? Am I saying that, you know me and actors.
Yeah, Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. Okay. Jake Gyllenhaal is, I think, going to be the star of the movie.
Okay.
So I think he's taking the Patrick Swayze Dalton role.
Yeah, I would.
But Conor McGregor is not going to play himself.
Okay.
He's going to act, supposedly. We'll see how that goes.
All right.
But it does lead to the question, because I don't know if Roadhouse really needs to be remade. I mean, they remade Point Break. And so now they are going to remake the two cheesiest Patrick Swayze movies ever made. And all of his movies were cheesy. Every single one of them.
No.
There was Fromunda, how much cheese was in these movies. But Roadhouse is one of the all-time cheesiest movies that I can't turn off when it's on.
I was going to say, it may be cheesy, but you stop what you're doing.
Oh, it's over. It's over. But I'm trying to think of a movie that actually needs to be remade.
Well, unfortunately, all but 4 of them are.
Well, that's all we have left.
Right. So those are the 4, I guess, we'll put on the poll question someday as to which one of these needs to be remade, because they're remaking every damn thing in the world. Although apparently they're not making Batwoman.
Right.
What happened with that?
They're done. It was in post-production, I believe, and they just decided to pull the plug on it to save money.
I don't understand. They spent nearly $100 million making this movie. They spent like 90 to 95. I mean, apparently it's not even like going to streaming.
No.
What the heck? I mean, why not? What's the harm in streaming the sucker out?
Big cuts at Warner Brothers. I mean, they're doing this to save money, which doesn't make any sense because they've already spent $90 million making the movie.
How much does it cost to stream it? Here.
The movie's not done yet, though.
Oh, it still has a little bit of ways
There's
to go.
still more work. According to the directors, I mean, literally from the director's comments, by no means are we done with this film yet. However, we want people to see our work, blah, blah, blah.
Huh. I mean, I have to admit, I'd be more interested in Batwoman than a remake of Roadhouse, although the Conor McGregor thing does intrigue me. I just want to see if he's actually pretty good or if he's, wow, this is bad.
That's the only reason I think I'd watch, because like the Point Break remake did nothing. I mean, I didn't watch it, no interest in watching it. And I still watched that horrible movie. It was on the other day, and I ended up catching 5 minutes of it.
Is,
All right.
Is Point Break the movie with the surfers?
Yes.
Yes, and Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Yes. That's one of, Keanu Reeves' high moments of mono talk. People died, man. You got to go down.
I loved Speed. I'm sorry.
Surf's up, dudes.
I did. I loved Speed. A lot of actors and actresses in that movie that I like. All right. I enjoyed Speed. Speed 2, not good. Speed, I thought it was good. I stopped on Speed. I
Do you have a
started
Sandra
watching
Bullock thing?
It's funny because she's not on the list or anything, but I do like movies that she's in.
Because you the football movie you bring up quite a bit, that she was the mom there in
Blindside.
Thank you, Blindside. So I mean, you referenced that.
Well, and also there's the Ryan Reynolds, Betty White, movie that she was in.
You're asking the wrong. Don't look at me.
So it's funny. I must like her.
She's obviously honorable mention.
I guess I never thought of it before, but I do like a lot of the movies that she's in. So now I'm going to say something which is probably going to get me in trouble, but it's just a question. What Rocky movie did you say to yourself, okay, we shouldn't be making any more?
I never said that.
All right. Honestly, all of them, every single one, you thought, I'm glad he did this movie. This is good.
I can't
this
say that I was
me.
glad that he did the movie, because 5 was awful.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Did there come a point 40 minutes into this one in which you said, okay, Sly, we got to stop now. We got to stop.
Was 5 the one where his son becomes a boxer? Or is that even one where, no, not his son, just he becomes a coach and then he fights the kid that he coaches.
Yeah, I thought that was the one that was not a Rocky. He was in dispute with the studio and he had
Balboa.
Yeah.
They all start running together after a while.
There was no numeral next to this one. Right. I got to admit, when he was giving at the end of Rocky 4, after he somehow, some way wins, when he's giving the speech into the microphone in the ring about what our nations need to do to get along, I remembered at that point saying, okay, this needs to end.
It's better than 2 guys than 200 million.
I thought, okay, go out with this. You got the Gorbachev double there with the scar. Okay, fine.
It was so great.
Okay, end it here. Great, right? Our countries, we're going to get along, the whole deal.
Outrunning the KBG in the snow as they followed him. Oh, man.
And I thought, this is where this needs to end.
You do push-ups and pull-ups, and you can take down the Russians, okay?
You've taken it as far as you need to take it.
Have you guys seen any of the Creed movies?
No. And I know the first one's supposedly really good.
Got to check them out.
I'll get to that.
By the way, the Sandra Bullock movie with Ryan Reynolds and Betty White, The Proposal.
Okay. Someone else, Miss Congeniality was another one that came in on the text line.
I was not a huge fan of that. My wife is, though. Miller and Moulton. Dr. Roto next. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Career ended today, Hall of Famers, or
on the
or do you
path.
think
Yeah, I
Derrick
mean,
Henry?
like, okay.
And I don't know if I'd even add Jonathan Taylor. I think I got to wait a couple more years. But I think I can go Derrick Henry.
You know, McCaffrey got to stay healthy. He's a
Yeah.
special player.
And,
Kamara, you know, I mean, there's a lot there that I like.
uh-huh.
When we talk about pitchers in the 300 game and things like that, I mean,
I wonder how old the youngest person in the Twitch chat is right now. Is there anyone in their 30s? I feel like I'm deeply offending people by asking these questions.
My mom, by the way, came through with the proposal.
That way, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
So Rocky 3, best one. So Rocky 3, best one.
I understand
No,
it's
Rocky is the best one.
I understand it's believing in the impossible, but it gets to a point in which you jump the shark and you go, okay, all right, we gotta end this here. Because then everything after that, like I ask you, do you think there was Rocky 5 and there was Balboa?
And then the Creed star. Yeah.
I mean, which one of these do you think that it actually damages the series and the brand? Yeah, see, Go Raiders has got my back on the speech at the end of 4. I mean, that was just nuts. I mean, you won. What the hell more you need to do or say? You beat the machine. You beat the steroid pig, for God's sakes. America won.
Oh, no.
Russia nothing.
I'm thinking of Rocky 4. Yeah, I think Rocky 4 is the best one. Ivan Drago. Just the training.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the window into the soul that everybody now knows. The dynamic that you add to the show and what we have to deal with working with you. If you think Rocky 4 is the best Rocky,
the training montages, the computers.
Well, that's at the height of Stallone being a steroid pig.
Yes.
No, those training scenes when he's doing, absolutely. He's totally.
Hey, Webner took Ali the distance. It's the whole premise of the movie. Adam.
Right. The only change they made, I thought Ali stopped Wepner in the 15th. That was the only difference they made to Rocky 1 was that he had Rocky go the distance. I got to look that up. I thought he stopped Wepner in the 15th.
Apollo Creed dies in that movie.
No, 3.
He dies in 3. No, he dies.
No,
in
he dies in 4. You're
4,
right.
yeah.
No, you're right.
Drago
You're right.
him.
Kills him. Right. Good.
Yes.
Good one. I know.
At the start of the movie, and it's like,
I know
what?
they went there. Well, and
he avenges his boy.
Well, they killed Meredith in 3.
Wait, Meredith?
Burgess Meredith.
He fell second short of a full 15 rounds, did Wepner against Ali, which is ridiculous. Why do you stop it at that point?
That's right. 3 is the one with Mr. T. I pity the man Who wants to fight me?
Good morning, Johnny. Haha. I like.
Sorry.
NG, I've watched the first 2 of The Captain. I have 3 and 4 taped, and I guess 5 and 6 are tonight. It seems more a Yankeeography than a Jeter biography, but he does give you some things that you didn't know or had heard before.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, and that's where you go to vote on our poll question. It's also where you go to sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight, where the featured guest, the star of the show, is a fantasy expert in not just football. He's Dr. Roto. You can hear him on SiriusXM. You also can get his service and advice at drroto.com, drroto.com. Follow him on Twitter at drroto, drroto. Doc, it is David and Mark once again, and we mean this when we ask because, you and I have that whole kidney connection. How is your health?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Our kidney brothers, we're hanging in there.
Right.
I actually had COVID, and I was really shocked about maybe 2 months ago. I was a little petrified as what was going to happen, but it was just kind of like a bad flu. But we got through it, and we're ready for fantasy football.
Well, that's awesome. For those that don't know, the same week, all right, I had an attack that hospitalized me. Turned out I had kidney cancer, and Dr. Roto was getting a new kidney. And so he sent me a text on the Monday before my surgery. I had my surgery on Thursday to remove the cancerous kidney. He sent me a text at 9:00 at night, Mark, that simply said, "Okay, I took care of mine. You're next."
And I'm so happy we can laugh about it now on both your accounts that both of you are doing well because it was a scary time, obviously. Doc, I am just fascinated by how you view preseason. I know you can't watch every game. Maybe you do go back and watch them, but Deshaun Watson and the Browns, this is going to be a good team. How do you look at Deshaun Watson? How does that change everything these next couple of weeks? However, we figure out how the suspension is, how does it affect what you think of that team and how you would draft players on that team?
I think we need to be very careful here with Watson because I read a really great string on Twitter last night by an attorney who has me pretty convinced that Watson is not going to play this year. And the NFL is going to go for that year. They're going to go for the year. And I think, obviously, here's the problem. In what they signed, Goodell is the judge, jury, and executioner, right? He can decide what to do here. And I think he's going to go for the year. And now Watson may appeal, but I don't think he's going to win that appeal. So in terms of the Browns, they're a complete mess. Right? You want to call him a dumpster fire? You can call him whatever you want. With Watson there, after 6 weeks, whether you like it or not, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, even though we haven't seen him in a while. Amari Cooper is a great player. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a good young receiver. David Bell, the rookie out of Purdue, has some fantasy value. Nick Chubb, of course, has great fantasy value. But with Jacoby Brissett there, do you feel great about any of these people outside of Nick Chubb? I don't. Brissett is the kind of guy who throws for 3,000 yards and like 17 touchdowns. Because he's just too conservative. So, I'm trying to stay away from as many Browns as I can right now. But like you said about preseason, you watch the games closely, but you're not watching it for the Aaron Rodgerses of the world, right? Those guys don't play. You're watching it for those second teamers to see who's going to be the wide receiver 3, the running back 2, those guys who can emerge if there's an injury.
Is there a number of games? Because what is a possibility with Watson is, Watson could now go to the league and say, okay, let's try to settle this? Because it was only last week, Doc, that they were negotiating a potential settlement and they couldn't agree. If, say, the number ends up being 10, all right, does that change anything with you, or would you still pretty much keep with, what it is you're thinking now? Or if by chance, which we don't think is possible, what if he wins? What if it stays 6? Does the number change your thinking about Browns?
No, just him playing. Because I think the right number was always 8, because they have a bye in week 9. So if you suspended him for 8, they didn't play 9, you don't see him on the field until week 10. Right? I think that always made the most sense to me. But in high-stakes fantasy football, taking Watson is smart because you're trying to win your fantasy football league. And when do you do that? Weeks 15, 16, and 17. At that point, he should be on the field and playing, and Amari Cooper is going to produce, and David Njoku is going to produce, and, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. So you're playing the long game when you're taking Browns. Is it a smart long game? Well, I don't know, but it is a good long game, and some people that I respect in the industry are taking Watson in round 15 and 16 of drafts because they know that if he comes back, he could be what we call a league winner. And you're trying to draft league winners.
I want you to dive down on that a little bit more, Roto, because it is one of the many things I've learned from you is for people in their league. Just a couple of quick questions. How deep of a bench should a normal fantasy league have? You play a ton of these. How big should a bench be in a normal league that you would take seriously?
Well, I mean, look, I play in leagues that have 20-man rosters, but I think you should have no fewer than 16 on a team, right? 16 is the minimum. But I prefer 20. But, I mean, there's your answer right there. It's pretty clear.
All right. And on that note, when you're talking about stashing guys in working for the championship, how patient do you preach patience with the owners? Because a lot of times I've heard you in these symposiums, hey, take this guy. Well, if that guy doesn't get drafted and you're curious and you want to dump him, how patient do you have to be with a Watson or with anybody for that matter that you're trying to stash on a roster?
Well, I mean, let's just say you draft, I'll give you a guy kind of like Romeo Dobbs, right, for the Packers. This guy has been really good in practice. I mean, he's been abusing Eric Stokes all practice long. But look, he wasn't the higher draft pick. Christian Watson was. Alan Lazard is there. Randall Cobb is there. Amari Rodgers is there. So what if week 1 Dobbs does nothing? And what if week 2 Dobbs does nothing? Now all of a sudden you're like, well, Dr. Roto, you don't know what you're talking about here. But I do, because this guy eventually will get on the field. What happens is in the NFL, as everybody knows, all it takes is one injury, and you're Wally Pipp. You're out and somebody else is in. And then all of a sudden, when the coaching staff sees how good you are, you have a path to playing time. How many times have we cut a guy in week 5 only to see somebody else get injured, and now this guy's playing again in week 6 and he's a star? So I think it is about holding a guy until you absolutely feel like you can't, because you desperately need another player to fill a position because you won't have a starter, right? So if I believe in a guy, I'm going to give him the longest leash I possibly can, because I don't want to cut a guy and then regret it later.
He's Dr. Roto. He's a fantasy expert. We're not just saying that. He's got a show regularly on SiriusXM, and you'll know it if you go to drroto.com, drroto.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto, DRROTO. Listen, we've known one another for years. The two of us have asked you a lot of questions over the years. We've never had a situation where the Dolphins had weapons. I mean, our questions about the Dolphins would always be something along the lines of, is there one guy you would draft? Okay. Are you jumping in the deep end on the Dolphins, first off, just as a team, but also in fantasy?
Yes and yes. I really like McDaniel. I think he's an innovative young mind, and he comes from a coaching tree of Kyle Shanahan, who may arguably be the best play caller in the NFL. So if he learned anything from that, I'm buying. I think Tua is better than people think he is. I mean, I don't know if he's as good as Tyreek Hill is saying he is, right? He's better than Aaron Rodgers. Let's go easy there. But you've got Waddle, Hill, Cedric Wilson, who performed very well for the Cowboys last year, Gesicki. and now you got Edmonds and Mostert and Michelle. There's no excuses now. This team's ready to win, and the defense is pretty good too. The problem here is in fantasy, they've got a lot of guys who are good, but do we like Waddle as much anymore? Do we like Hill as much anymore? Hill was a first-round pick. Waddle would have been a second-round pick. Now he's a third because we don't know how they're going to divvy up the targets. But we know this is going to be an exciting offense. We know they're going to put him in places to succeed. So I'm buying in if I can. I think that this team could clearly be a playoff team. And I mean, the only problem is that they're playing the same division as arguably the best team in the AFC.
How much, David and I were just talking. David's not concerned at all. I'm just paying attention to what's going on in LA with Stafford's elbow. From a fantasy standpoint, how much does that concern you?
I usually like teams who were in the Super Bowl, who won the Super Bowl the year before. I'm not sure the Rams are going to make it there, but the NFC is pretty weak as a conference, so it is possible. Look, Stafford has played with broken thumbs and broken this and broken that. I mean, this guy is the guttiest player, and quarterback in the NFL. I mean, I don't think there's any question about how tough he is. They had Allen Robinson, who is a really good receiver, who's finally back to him for this now. I mean, this guy only played a couple of weeks last year. The defense is still the defense. Yeah, I think Stafford knows what he needs to do to be able to play.
This is just some of what you will get a week from tonight when Dr. Roto is the headliner at our Fantasy Football Summit. You like doing this?
Is that a rhetorical question? I'd love doing this.
Well, no, I mean, just like, we're going to put you in a room with 50 other people. I mean, that sort of thing. I mean, I know you do a show. I know you like doing it into a microphone. I mean, but we're going to, we'll have everything but the stage.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I love it. I do. I love it. I love helping people win fantasy football leagues. I love people learning how to be better as fantasy football players. I love when somebody gives me a look. Like if you remember a few years ago when I gave everybody the name Patrick Mahomes, they looked at me like I was crazy. And of course, it was a league winner. I'm going to give people some names this year that you're going to look and say, really? And then hopefully at the end of the year, those are the players who helped you win. So yeah, this is not only my hobby and my job, it's my passion. I love it, and I love sharing that with others.
Dr. Roto, he is one of the 20 best in the country at fantasy sports, all sports. And you'll know that if you go to drroto.com, DRROTO, and follow him on Twitter at DRROTO as well. And a week from tonight, you could be in the same room with him. And hey, just make sure that cheat sheet now, okay? It's got to be nice and neat. That's all I'm saying. I've seen your handwriting. And just
we're giving a free cheat sheet from drroto.com to everybody who comes. I mean, you can't get better than that. You can print it out, use it for your draft. It's the same ones that I use when I do my drafts because I created the cheat sheets, all my projections, all my numbers. So I'm all in.
All right. That's awesome. Listen, all the best to you and the family. Stay safe. Be well. We'll see you a week from tonight.
Looking forward to it, guys. Take care.
Dr. Roto, drroto.com. Join him on Twitter at Dr. Roto. DRROTO.
That's one of the things I will give you. One of the things he'll tell everybody in that room. If you're a fantasy player that's not on Twitter, you're going to lose your league. You're going to. You're going to miss out on waiver wires. You're going to miss out on important things because you're not paying attention. There's no way you can get it off of watching a ticker.
And the first time we did this was the year when Mahomes became the starter. And he just said, I'm just telling you right now, back up the truck, just put it all in. You want to draft Mahomes, you want to draft Chiefs, you want to stack them, the whole deal. That's your ticket. If you do, you're going to win your league. And there were people in the room going, he's played one game. And Dr. Roto's like, I'm telling you, you're going to win your league.
And I'm curious to ask him about the Chiefs and Mahomes this year at our fantasy summit because we've won a lot of money on the Chiefs. And what are they going to be like this year?
Right.
Without Hill, how different is that offense going to be without the speed demon in the slot for the Chiefs? So Fantasy Football Summit, 1 week from today, Shoeless Joe's. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
So the two big stories in sports since we last did a show, The NFL turns out they had to decide by, well, basically now, whether or not they were going to appeal Judge Robinson's decision. And they decided late yesterday to, yes, we are going to appeal. Who are they appealing it to again, Mark?
That would be the NFL, David.
And apparently they're asking for what they asked Judge Robinson for. A full year with it open-ended on the other side. And they want to be able to fine them 7 figures, maybe even crooked numbers at the beginning of it. And then the 11 golfers on the LIV Tour that are suing the PGA Tour for antitrust violations. We think it's a case that'll go all the way to the Supreme Court because it's a simple matter of, is an independent contractor an independent contractor?
Or when you sign a contract with an association, did you lose your rights as an independent contractor based on the rights of the association you signed with?
The LIV and the golfers on it are like, listen, we're independent contractors. You, the PGA Tour, they might as well have included the DP World Tour on it as well, because the guys aren't being treated quite as harshly, but close.
Well, yes, but the suit's in this country, so it doesn't really apply to
Right.
the DP World Tour. But yes, you're absolutely right.
So those are the 2 big stories in the sports world. And another full day and night of baseball and what have you. Mets and Braves will begin a 5-game series tonight in New York. Braves 4 back in the loss column.
Enjoy the Hall of Fame game tonight, Tampa St. Pete, Lake City, and Port Charlotte. I know you're watching. You can say you're not watching, but you're going to turn the game on because it's football, and that's what we do. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What are the Federated States of Micronesia? What the hell is that?
So you just picked the place tomorrow.
Okay. We can, I just got to get all the stuff. I'll text you later. We can do it right here as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah. I mean, she said she'd come to the back parking lot.
Yeah, we can
So,
do that, or we can just go, I don't even know what's
We literally just need a place to sit and
Yeah.
sign things, right?
right.
Yeah, if you're okay with it.
Am I allowed to ask what you're signing?
No,
Okay.
I'll tell you later.
Gotcha.
I haven't had that much coffee. I have two, whatever. These are like 16-ounce things. I've not even finished the second one yet. And I usually get up this hour. If not, I race home and go before I take the dog out. Anything else you need to know? Besides, Moulton drinks more water than I drink coffee in a show. Is that your third one of those?
Yeah, I usually drink 3 of these a day, and these are what, at least 32 ounces, I think.
Yeah.
So I probably drink around 90 plus ounces of water during a show. I usually have one visit during a show.
Yo, Dead Stirk in the Twitch chat. Philly, the Celtics are holding open tryouts. Last few spots of the roster.
There you go.
All right. Hey, thanks, man.
I don't like your chances, but you say you've got game.
I just want you guys to see me play basketball one time.
No, thanks.
Yeah, I don't see how anybody
Or just
would
I need
be
you to
interested in
I
that.
need you to
Why would I, Philly?
not watch me play
Let me ask you a
basketball, my bad.
question. How many college offers did you have?
Zero. But that's not the point.
No, it's exactly the point.
I just
then
want-
you're no good.
I want us to be walking somewhere, like all three of us, and then a kid passes me a ball, and there's a basketball hoop, and I do a dribble size up, and I take a step back, and I swoosh it. And you guys are like, oh.
Or you throw an air ball up.
That would suck. Wow. The first shot, that's a lot of pressure.
My buddy already said he was going to play a horse for $20 a shot, and you turned him down.
What? No, where? What?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this first Thursday of August. And tonight there will be preseason NFL for those of you into that sort of thing. And that's basically our poll question. What's your level of interest in preseason NFL?
Fortunately, it's not very good.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
over
you.
50% are still saying who's playing.
There you go. Nice. It's our poll question. At that Mark Miller, at the David Moulton on Twitter, and this whole FloridaSportsNetwork.com thing that we got going on. It's also where you go to sign up for our fantasy football summit. By the way, we have a sponsor, Clutch Vodka, sponsoring the fantasy football summit.
I love vodka.
I know you do. Clutch Vodka.
I have a new vodka to drink.
Sponsor of the fantasy football summit, and apparently, from what I understand, going to be involved in this whole Miller and Moulton.
And that's
thing.
Clutch with a K.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
Okay.
But thank you for double checking.
Well, because I looked it up. I thought I saw it elsewhere, but either way, it's Clutch.
Yes.
And it's Clutch Vodka, and they're sponsors of our fantasy football summit. A week from tonight, by the way. Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe. Crown Plaza, Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Go to FloridaSportsNetwork.com and sign up. It's limited. Apparently, we can go to 60. We were planning on 50. But apparently, got the word from Jim that they can go to 60. So hot steaming deal. We got that going on. Miller and Moulton. It's not being talked about enough, but I think people need to open their eyes to the fact that if you're Deshaun Watson's camp, do you make a settlement offer now? I mean, come on. If I was Deshaun and you were his attorneys, and I know there's the party in which you're feeding your client a little bit of what they want to hear. After all, they're paying you a lot of money and the whole deal. You think you're going to win this?
As his attorney, no. There's no precedent that tells me that I will.
Okay, so
I can just delay the outcome of my client, and the outcome of my client being delayed cost him a boatload of money.
how many attorneys have sat down with their clients over the years and said, yes, I think you're getting screwed, but I also think you're going to lose. So at this point in time, we have to lessen the loss as much as possible. You can get, your anger and all that. I get it. I agree with you. The win on Monday should have been the win. This is BS. This is not of our doing, by the way. This was negotiated by the Players Association and the league. You're just a victim of it. Say whatever it is you got to say. Get it out of your system. But if we are going to maintain our stance, it's my job as your attorney to give you my best legal opinion. My best legal opinion is they are wanting to stick it to you, and now they have things on their side to stick it to you. And I am not confident we're going to win. If the choice is 6 or 17 and the deck is stacked on their side, I don't like our chances. I liked our chances with Judge Robinson. I don't like our chances now. I will do what it is you want me to do. You're paying me. You want me to climb the mountain and keep arguing for 6? Fine. But I do think you need to think in the next 24, 48 hours about, is there a middle ground that you can live with? And we will counteroffer it, because in my legal opinion, I think the NFL would accept a counteroffer. I don't think they want you playing week 1. And if we litigate this, you will play week 1. Hell, you may play a month, 2 months. You may play this whole year, Deshaun. But then that's the other thing. You're only making $1 million this year.
Right. Next year,
you're making 46.
Every game you sit out is $2.7 million.
Right. So we want, in my opinion, we want this resolved in the 2022 season. And in my opinion, all right, the league would settle to assure that you're not playing week 1. That's my legal opinion. That I think the league would rather have you miss 10 games this year than potentially start serving your suspension in October of this year, which goes to October of next year. I think the damage for the league will be done with you playing week 1.
And I love your theory on this. I think Raj has had it. I don't think Raj goes back and negotiates a second time after the negotiations the first time were completely dropped, and they decided to go to the arbitrator, to Judge Robinson, for her ruling. And I don't know why Watson, the NFLPA, or anybody out there thought that the NFL was not going to appeal. The moment the appeal started, I think Raj is ready to lay the hammer down, because he didn't get the deal the first time that they were trying to seek out and were unable to.
Right. Once again, I'm still operating as your,
yes,
attorney. My legal opinion, our best shot was them not appealing, them thinking this is enough negative publicity. Let's just make this go away, what have you. Obviously, they want more. Well, then I think we need to give them some more. Hey, they were willing to settle with us just a week and a half ago. We were within 4 games of one another. We were willing to go to 8. They were willing to come down to 12. What do you say? We split the difference. Put the ball in their court and just sit back and wait. And when we make the counteroffer, we say it's either this or we go to war. And, you may even win. You certainly think you're going to win. Precedent says you're going to win. But in a lot of ways, you're going to lose. Because A, he's going to be playing week 1. And B, we're going scorched earth. Absolutely going scorched earth. We're going Kraft. We're going Snyder. We're going Irsay. Absolutely. Abso-flippin-lutely. If we're losing, we're taking as much down as we can.
Well, and that's the part that I wonder. I think they will. I just don't know how much anybody cares. Meaning the NFL fan. They're going to go after Snyder. They've been going after Snyder for 3 years. Publicly. Our government's going after Snyder. No one gives a damn.
And I would argue, obviously, they care. Not to take Dan Snyder out as being owner. Obviously, they don't care, because if so, they would have taken action to do so. So they clearly want him to remain as owner of Washington. But, Mark, clearly they care. The fact that they're appealing shows that perception means a lot to them. I mean, come on. You're Deshaun. Once again, I'm the lawyer. What did they do these last 48 hours? They wet their finger, they put it up in the air, they took the temperature, gauged the wind, and they obviously go, you know what? It's better for us if we appeal. It's better for us to try to say, we need to penalize him more than what we're doing. This is not going over well. We need to make it more. Okay, then we'll make it more.
I guess maybe not care is the wrong way to put it. I believe that the NFL doesn't think the public cares about what goes on with owners the same way they care about what goes on with players from a public image standpoint. I phrased that incorrectly.
Well, but no, I actually think you're right, though. But, I mean, people have moved on from Robert Kraft, but you can bring it back up. And you can go through it step by step. I mean, you can just publicly embarrass the first or second most powerful owner in the league. I mean, the reason Goodell has the job is Kraft. I mean, Kraft got him the job. He carried the most water to make Goodell the commissioner. Kraft's
carried it again when Jerry wanted him out.
Yeah, Kraft's his guy. And you don't think at some point somebody in the room's going, you really want to put your guy through this again? Because they are going to bring it all back up. And by the way, they got media that's ready to eat it up. I mean, come on now. I mean, you were getting blamed for Judge Robinson's decision, for goodness sakes. You don't think they'll blame you for Kraft? Remember this now, this will become a race issue also. Don't kid yourself. Don't think, Raj, it won't. Okay, we'll go black-white now. That's what the NFLPA will do. I mean, you want your 17 games bad enough? Okay, we're going to make it hurt as much as we can. You're going to win. We know you're going to win. We are going to take a pipe to your car, and you're going to be able to pull that car out of the lot, but it's going to look like crap. Or I'm offering you 10 games.
Yep. The other side of it is they're going to make Watson look even worse publicly. They're going to make the Browns look even worse for signing him. And with the indefinite suspension, they could keep Watson out a lot longer than a year. And as we've talked about throughout the show, for Raj, to me, it's personal. Once he didn't accept it last week, Raj doesn't care about settling. And Raj has made personal decisions that have not maybe been in the best interest of the league, but I don't think he's cared about the fight the way you portray that he would care about the week one. And I think he likes the fight and wants to win more than 1 or 2 weeks makes him look bad.
And I think if you give him more, he can sell it as a win. And that's what I think this is all about. This is the NFL wanting to be able to hold the press conference and say to their female audience, which, by the way, is 40% of their fandom. I mean, this is a big deal. This is. There are far more female fans than a lot of guys are willing to calculate in here. This is a $20 billion annual empire. Think about how much money's tied up in women. Goodell needs a win. What number do you think's a win?
For Raj, 17.
Okay. And nothing less?
Yes.
All right. I disagree. I think we could make a counteroffer.
The NFLPA's got a day to file their, or to answer their appeal, and we'll go from there.
I mean, come on. If he thought a win was 12, you really couldn't get him to accept a win at 10?
I don't know if Raj thought a win was 12.
Well,
I think that's what they were trying to settle.
Well, they offered it. Obviously, last week he could live with 12.
And the $8 million, remember.
Okay. You got $46 million in the bank. What do you care?
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Okay, so to NGL's reply. Here you go, Raiders. Anyway, NGL Indy, are you using Apple Podcasts? No, you use Twitch.
Hey,
So
sold 2 more since we had Roto on. We're up to 27 now.
the replay.
Started the day at 25.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I have a dashboard. I literally check it throughout the
Oh,
show.
it's interesting because I get a thing from that.
Yeah.
And it's always a day behind. Like you always have 2 or 3 more than
Yeah.
what the email I get.
Yeah, because you're getting
Right.
the report from so
That's good.
yeah.
So you're saying that
That's right. If we do 2 a day, we'll be in 40.
And I think we'll do. We got to pound it more next week, and
Yeah.
but I mean, literally, I was just kind of checking. We were 25 before we did Roto. I wanted to see if that segment sold, and it sold too.
So you're saying the replay of the show on Twitch is sped up? Because if you're referring to Apple Podcasts, there's a setting on Apple Podcasts, like an
No,
option.
they're referring to the replay of the Twitch show.
Yeah.
That's not an Apple podcast.
No, I know, but that's odd. Because you can speed it up on that. That's what I'm saying. Also, imagine being an Uber driver and Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr, and Devontae Adams walks into your car. It's pretty crazy.
Better be a good tip.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did you see what Jeff said there, Lindy? That seems to be the best advice I can give you. And by best advice I can give you, the best advice Jeff can give you.
Right. And Jeff, morning. How the heck are you? How's the family?
Jeff in Iowa.
All right. Good news. The only good thing about the Steely Dan is that my Visa bill this month with that credit's going to be as low as I've had one in literally, because we put a kibosh on credit cards last month. It was like we're trying to be really frugal with the obvious reasons why.
Right. Did I tell you what happened with the phone call when I was in Jersey? She saw a news report on NBC Nightly News and called me, screaming at me, okay, about what I was doing. And so, I talked her down and what have you, but one of the lines that she said was, we don't need the money that bad. And I said, really? I paid off $16,000 in credit card debt in the last 6 weeks. Who do you think fucking spent it? And there was a lot of silence on the other end of that phone.
I didn't realize that we'd found that out yet.
No. Listen, Chief, we all know what the deal is. We all know what the deal is. Okay. Charges were dropped on Kraft, by the way, on a technicality, but charges were filed. All right. No charges have ever been filed on Deshaun, but it doesn't matter here. This is all a PR thing now. Okay. And this would just be to embarrass the NFL and embarrass one of the owners. And then they'll go race also.
Well, and I think they'll go race first. And I that's the one part of David's argument that I actually agree with. I don't agree with the Crafts. I don't. But I do agree with the race card. I mean, my goodness, once Patrick Mahomes made the comment about
him and
about Kyler Murray, think about how that took off on a whole nother level quickly. And that was just a blip on the radar story.
Right. Him, Lamar, and Kyler, in which he goes, it's interesting what we get critiqued on versus others.
And Spitz, you got to remember, I am stunned by the grand juries with all the information that Robin said, but as David's pointed out on the show, it is maybe the hardest thing to get a guilty verdict. They could have wanted to go to trial, but the DA may have said, I don't have enough. We don't know.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Bonus hour, Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Go there to vote on our poll question, which is gauging your level of interest in tonight's Hall of Fame game. Raiders and Jags, if you didn't know, and by the way, that's one of the answers. Oh, my goodness. I didn't even know. Which designates your level of interest. And it's also where you can go to sign up for our Clutch Vodka Fantasy Football Summit. Proud sponsor of not just the event, but the show. Glad to bring them on board.
I am so happy about a Spirit being a sponsor. It's one thing to have a measly beer be a sponsor of a show, but that I can proudly drink vodka at home in front of my wife and say, honey, I don't know what to tell you. They're a sponsor.
They're paying the bills, honey. Come on now.
I am so excited.
Am I going to have to start posting pictures of the beach with a bottle? Or actually, no, that's bad. No glass at the beach.
Listen, anything you want to do on social media within reason.
Hey,
yes,
it would be more than you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we got a sponsor now, sponsored vodka. Let's go.
It does feel a little bit like Days of Thunder. We've got ourselves a sponsor.
And it's a vodka.
What is that?
I am so excited.
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day one and our final thoughts, all a segmented away, coming up in about 15 plus minutes.
So we focused the last couple of shows about a particular quarterback,
right?
But there's another quarterback that made a tiny bit of news, or at least to me made a tiny bit of news. Whenever I see a story that involves psychedelic drugs and an NFL quarterback, I click on it. And Aaron Rodgers basically admitted to doing the hallucinogenic drug DMT on a podcast yesterday. Now, maybe that's not on the NFL's banned list as far as we know, but I did think it was interesting that a star quarterback admitted to doing some hallucinogenics.
You got to help me out here because, I've got a lot of faults, a lot of flaws. Drugs, not one of them.
Right.
I've never, ever, ever, ever dabbled in anything outside of alcohol. So what in the world? A psychedelic
It's called
drug?
DMT, and the best I know, I've never taken it. I don't know anybody who has. Well, I know of people who have. I don't know anybody close to me who has. I've heard about it because I'm a big fan of this musician by the name of Sturgill Simpson, and he has it in one of his songs, so I had to figure out what it was. Apparently, it is this very short, intense trip, whereas like if someone does the hallucinogenic that most people know of like acid or mushrooms, those last a really long time. My understanding is that DMT is a very short version of one of those hallucinogenic trips. Now, they say because there's a lot of talk, and I've done it, there's a lot of studies being done on these type of drugs of whether they have any type of actual use from a doctor standpoint,
Right.
from a research standpoint. Can people help? But he did say it led to his best season he's ever had.
So he was on the Aubrey Marcus podcast yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so I took a trip. I was dating Danica at the time. We took a trip to Peru together to do ayahuasca,
Whatever. DMT.
a plant-based psychedelic tea containing the hallucinogenic drug DMT. And he's crediting that to the best season he had ever had. I was dating Danica, and that relationship was great for me. She's on her own journey, spirituality important to her. And he also recalled having, quote, the best day of his life, unquote, when he did mushrooms on a beach with friends.
Aaron,
Man.
you're winning me over, man. I'm telling you right now.
Talking about Danica, we both were finding our way, learning about different things, practicing meditation techniques. Is that what that's called? Doing mushrooms on a beach. That's a meditation technique?
It is.
Okay. We had an incredible experience climbing Mount Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right before going right into an ayahuasca ceremony. The psychedelic drug gave him a deep and meaningful appreciation for life. My intention the first night going in was I want to feel what pure love is. That was my intention, and I did. I really did, he said. I had a magical experience, the sensation of feeling 100 different hands on my body, imparting a blessing of love and forgiveness for myself.
I thought it was really freaky when a tree was talking to me, but that's just personal experience.
The feeling of 100 different hands on my body, imparting a blessing of love and forgiveness for myself and gratitude for this life from what seemed to be my ancestors. I came back and the pandemic hit.
Poor Danica. She's got to answer questions about this now, too. I mean, I don't think she was ready for all of this to come out.
I think she was kind of hoping that this would have stayed in Peru.
Yes.
What happens in Peru stays in Peru. I'm just wondering, I had a magical experience with the sensation of feeling 100 different hands on my body. I just thought that was Robert Kraft. Hello. Hello.
He only paid for 2 hands on him, David. Only 2. So between that and then Tua getting upset yesterday because he got married and people found out about it.
Yeah, I know. He says he feels like it's a violation of like trust, and
He
he's
felt disrespected.
yes, he's angry that the media found out he got married.
Were they sitting outside the courthouse, basically, is what he asked.
And they weren't, but apparently somebody got a tip, and so somebody went into records. It is public record if
Right.
you get married. And but yeah, he's not happy about it. Says it's part of his privacy.
I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're starting quarterback of an NFL team. You
Well,
got
but-
married. It's not.
But also,
why is that something that needs to be private?
but also, quite frankly, it's not private for anybody who gets married.
Correct.
So this isn't just a you thing. And you know, I'm actually big on, I do think that public figures should have a little more privacy than what it is right now they get.
Right. But
this is, I mean, this everybody's, the same rules for everybody here. And you're starting quarterback of the NFL team. If you get married, well, it's going to be a little blurb in the paper. Don't know what to tell you.
and it's over. It's not like it's a blurb that anybody's worried about. No one cares.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to keep it private, don't talk about it. When they ask you about it, they go, well, yeah, it's my private life. I keep it private. But yeah, are you wishing me thanks? Well wishes? If so, thank you. Otherwise, I'm not going to talk about my
I signed a
private
pretty
life.
big contract. I didn't need to put anything up for gifts.
Yeah.
I didn't need to register anywhere. There's nothing I need from Bed Bath & Beyond. We're good on spatulas and
Right.
silverware, plates, etc. You know, if you
So, but yeah, that's apparently good for him. Congratulations. Hope it works out, obviously.
well, yeah.
I mean, you know,
These
hopefully
quarterbacks are getting married young. The new Steelers quarterback's already announced he's engaged and got a date.
right. I know.
Tua got married. What are these guys thinking?
Well, I think they're thinking, you know, get the first one out of the way. Hello.
Zach Wilson's got it going on. That's how you do this.
We got to get the break.
Yeah.
I tell any more jokes, could step over the line and get us in trouble.
Hey, one more joke. I'm going to be reaching for the Clutch Vodka, which is a reminder to sign up for our Clutch Vodka Fantasy Football Summit coming 1 week from today. Dr. Roto, who was on earlier, will leave you with the cheat sheet as well as unbelievable information. You will learn more about fantasy in this couple of hours than I think you've probably ever learned in the however many years you've been doing it. I don't care how long you've been doing it. You will learn from the good doctor. Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe, 1 week from today. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com, floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up for our Clutch Vodka Fantasy Football Summit.
And as KW says in our Twitch chat room, I mean, if you think about a couple jokes I've just told, I mean, it can't be worse than what Seth said on our show yesterday.
There
right?
is no way.
So, I mean, if we were allowed to come back on the air today, I mean, you know, how bad can my jokes be?
Streaming on Twitch, not anywhere else. Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. All still ahead right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit.
We want you to win your fantasy football league, so we've recruited an expert just for you.
Dr. Roto, who you hear regularly Thursdays on Miller and Moulton during the season, will give you his tips, advice, and insight just days before your fantasy draft.
In addition to that, you'll get food and drink and all of your questions answered. You'll leave the Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit with the Dr. Roto cheat sheet so that you can draft a great team and follow his award-winning insight throughout the season.
So if you want to win, we'll see you August 11th, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe for dinner, drinks, and the doctor. Dr. Roto, that is.
Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up today. That's floridasportsnetwork.com for the Fantasy Football Summit.
Thursday, August 11th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Meghan Markle's 41.
Yeah, she's older than him.
She's 41.
All right, Adam and everybody else who's a wrestling fan, you know that we are not wrestling people currently. But I will say, it was at Monday's show or whatever it is, it was the highest rated show that they've had in like 3 years, pre-pandemic. So this whole life after Vince McMahon, I don't know. Early TV returns are okay, that they're at least, that wrestling people came back to kind of see what the next act's going to be.
Yeah.
And yes, Spitz, there's TVs in the room we're in, so they'll be on.
Yeah, that was the one where they literally lifted up the stage with like a tractor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they lifted up the stage, and also Jake Paul was on it.
But it did like
Logan Paul.
But it did like 2.3 million, which is a big night for them.
Yeah, they had a bunch of celebrities. Logan Paul's a big internet guy.
I mean, is it Triple H now who's running the thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, listen, if you have 500,000 more people show up than who showed up the week before for a show on cable.
It was at a football stadium. What stadium? Trying to see if I can tell. Yeah, David Moulton, I appreciate your question, but if you can just respect my privacy, me and my wife, you know.
What is this?
just
This
got
is your
married.
stop with your imitation.
This is my my
Is thi-
culture, you know.
This is your Tua impression?
Yeah, Coach McDaniel, you know, he's a great coach. He's a great offensive mind.
Yeah, but Adam, it's that way for everything. You know, the audience was less splintered in the 90s. I mean, it's just the way it is. People don't watch as much television as they used to.
And certainly not live.
I mean, Adam, when they were getting 10 million people, literally the internet was just becoming a thing. I was doing sports in Fargo where I was the main guy in 98 and 99. And we would have a you know, like D Moulton at, and the station thing at, and I literally got mocked in the market in 98 and 99. And the one time I did the, you know, hey, vote for the Heisman Trophy. I've got a ballot, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, for 3 weeks on the TV screen, and people mocked me. What the hell's this at thing? It's like that Brian Gumbel, Katie Couric clip in like 96 or 97. They're sitting around talking about the internet. What's this internet thing? You know, and you play it now. They look like, I mean, morons. It's so funny. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a 1-2 week thing. You know, like you said, you turned it on, you watched the match, but
Sold another one up to 28. Look at that. Oh, I hope we get to 50. That would make me happy. If we'd have charged a real rate, could have walked away with a couple of bucks.
I know, could have made 10, 12 bucks. Well, once again, now we know not only can the Moulton part of the show not negotiate contracts, he can't do events either.
No, you can do events. It's a great event.
with this from now. You can set it up, and then I'll take it from there.
I just would rather you don't do pricing. That's
Right.
all I
No,
ask.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
You
just-
can set it up.
Yeah.
And I'll take it from here. Thanks.
I think you're still working in pre-pandemic pricing.
Just
I don't know if you're aware of this thing called inflation.
Come back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us.
They're going fast, David. The Clutch Vodka Fantasy Football Summit. Literally. Selling one or two every 5 minutes.
Huh.
So if you want to get in, I would recommend doing so now. floridasportsnetwork.com.
So in other words, this not-for-profit event that we put together, maybe I should have
Maybe.
allowed for some profit. Is that
Maybe.
what you're saying?
If you want to sponsor the show, call David. He'll give you a hell of a deal.
I will say that was also the case when we were working and doing sales locally in this building. That was the case. My cost per point was a little less than yours.
Just a touch. Get great deals now. You want to sponsor Miller and Moulton? Call Moulton today. The only problem is that we just worked out during the break that David is no longer allowed to do any pricing on anything
Right.
related to the show.
Right. Apparently, all I'm allowed to do is take your name and number and go, thank you. We'll be getting back to you. And then I have to slide it down the table.
Your best bet is just to get some Clutch Vodka and me before we negotiate. That's your easiest way to get a lot extra on your deal.
Well, the problem was, you had negotiated multi-million-dollar deals before.
right.
I was a sportscaster. I could barely get myself $30,000 a year from an employer. You negotiated, $1 million deals with crooked numbers in them. So that's why you had no problem asking for money.
Never have.
Right. I looked at it and went, man, that's a lot of money.
I'm not worth that.
Right. Exactly.
That's
What I think of myself. So I'm going, $20 a spot. I mean, really? I know we're top 3 in the ratings for that demo and all, but that seems like a lot of money. Yeah, the station's number 1's charging like 85. Yeah, I know, but 20. Man, it just seems like a lot.
I really wish I could get you to not use numbers about radio shows on the air.
Well, that was at the time.
Yeah, I know.
That was at the time. That's all.
I would still inflate those when I talk. Literally, I played golf yesterday, and it was funny because different groups and there's bets going on, and so
Sure.
we make the turn, and one of the guys in the group in front of us says, "So can any of you beat X score on the front?" And my partner immediately went, "Yes," and we didn't beat it, and I knew we didn't beat it, and I said, he was lying about that number. He goes, "Oh, absolutely, he was lying. I just figured I'd get him scared before we went in."
I can't believe there was gambling on the course, by the way. Wow.
My wife all the time asks me, can you guys just play to play?
Well, we could.
I answer no.
Well, the answer is yes. We would just prefer not to.
I suppose. I guess it could be done.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Don't know if that can happen today. We start in 1753. George Washington becomes a master mason. And then they hit all that money. Did a couple of movies on it. No?
No.
1936, Jesse Owens wins his second gold medal at the Berlin Games in the long jump. Staggering record happened today in 1945. Byron Nelson wins the Canadian Open for his 11th consecutive PGA victory. He would win 18 that season. That's amazing. Today in 55, President Eisenhower authorizes $46 million for the construction of the CIA headquarters. Today in 56, Elvis releases Hound Dog. Skip all the way to 1984. Carl Lewis wins the 109.9 seconds. First of 9 golds over 3 games. And also on that day in 84, Purple Rain the album Purple Rain goes number 1. It would stay there for 24 weeks. In 85, Rod Carew gets his 3,000 hit as a member of the Angels against the Minnesota Twins. And on the same day that Carew gets hit 3,000, Tom Seaver becomes the 17th to get win 300.
Did it in New York. He was a member of the White Sox, and he beat the Yankees on Phil Rizzuto Day at the stadium. It was a sold-out stadium on a Sunday, and Seaver with a complete game.
4-1 the final. 86, after winning the token damages in their antitrust suit against the NFL, the USFL votes to suspend operation for the 1986 season and would fold before the season would begin.
If they had stayed in the spring, do you think it would have made it? You think we'd still have the USFL today?
No. But I think we could have had expansion earlier in the NFL. There may have been some sort of WHA NHL type merger where a team or two might have been able to make the jump.
Because half the league was doing really well, and average attendance for the league was in the high 20s. But you did have about half the league also that, getting in this whole salary thing, and they were starting to lose big money. And yeah.
In 2005, jockey Pat Day announces his retirement. I bring it up because I just wanted to get to this number. He won $298 million in career purses. His horses. He didn't win that, but that's the career purse is nearly $300 million. Bonds ties Hank Aaron's record of 755 today in 2007, and A-Rod becomes the youngest player to hit 500 home runs today in 2007. The irony that both happened
right
on the same day.
Right.
Serena wins gold in London today in 2012, and Michael Phelps wins his 18th gold medal in those same Olympics. And it was 1 year ago that Rihanna is named the world's wealthiest female musician, worth $1.7 billion.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So she's wealthier than Beyonce.
That's what they claim.
That's interesting.
Those born today that are no longer with us, you've heard of him, you know who he is, and you don't like him. Louis Vuitton, born today in 1821. Your wife handbag collection has destroyed his name to all of us. And the Queen Mother, Liz, born today in 1900, the original Queen Mother, not the one we have now. And Louis Armstrong, also born today, as was Rocket Richard, Dallas Green, and Caldwell Jones.
Love me some Caldwell Jones. Backed up Dawkins. Good player.
Good sixth man. Well, Bobby Jones was the big sixth man. Caldwell Jones came in for the
right
bigs.
after him.
Yeah.
Those Sixers teams were fun.
I love those Sixers
They
teams.
needed Moses to get over the hump, but man, those were good times.
Those celebrating their birthdays today, Billy Bob Thornton, 77. Billy Bob Thornton is 67. Barack Obama is 61. Roger Clemens is 60. Friend of the show, Brett Baer, is 52. Jeff Gordon is 51. And your buddy, Meghan Markle's 41 today, David. I couldn't avoid it today. I had to have that in there. And that was today was a day when. Any errors or omissions there, David?
Talladega Nights was released 16 years ago today. Scale of 1 to 10, what do you give it? I'm not as big a fan as you would think.
It's a solid 6.5.
We're talking in comparison to other Will Ferrell movies, overall?
No,
just overall.
A very simple question. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give it?
I give it like a 6, yeah. But compared to other Will Ferrell movies, it's like an 8.
That was not
I disagree with that.
No, actually, I'd rate it even lower. I don't even know if it gets to 5 for me.
Fair enough.
So, what that's worth.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I've got a guard cat. Bandit, the cat in Belden, Mississippi. Apparently helped tip off a robbery in his home and saving his life. Fred Everett of the Tupelo suburb says when two people tried to break into the home last week, the cat did everything she could do to alert him of the danger. The cat waking him up, he was able to retrieve his handgun. The would-be intruders had already fled. That cat should be named. For the bad, we go to Cape Coral, where Christopher Otero decided he wanted to beat up a cop. Never a good idea. The officer was parked outside the Pelican Sports Complex on Southwest 2nd Court. Otero lives across the street. He walked over and approached him to yell about a past handling of a suspicious vehicle call. He was drunk at the time, and when the officer asked him to head home, he knocked the officer's arms down and then proceeded to spend the night in jail.
You know, this just in. If you've learned anything from this show over the years, making physical contact with a law enforcement officer
Is a really dumb idea.
they frown upon it.
You've basically
big
given
way.
them carte blanche to beat the ever-living you-know-what out of you.
Right. So just take that under advisement.
And for the ugly, we go to Titusville, Florida, where, jumping on the highway is one thing. Jumping on the highway in a golf cart is another. Jumping on the highway with a bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand and your golf cart steering in the other is probably the ultimate way to get yourself in trouble. But that's what a woman tried to do yesterday. She is now facing misdemeanor charges of disorderly intoxication in public place and, of course, resisting, because after she was pulled over in her golf cart, she decided to try to get away from the officers with her bottle of Jack Daniels Tennessee Fire Whiskey. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 4th, 2022.
So you're armed with a golf cart and or on foot.
Yeah.
And your bottle of Jack.
And your bottle of Jack.
And you think you're going to get away from them.
Uh-huh. I think once you jump onto I-95 with the golf cart, you've pretty much given up all thoughts of sane acting for that day.
I understand that you're, under the weather, so to speak. But did you not notice that every single thing on the highway is passing you? So why is it you think, unless you're going to turn that sucker and go right into the woods and somehow, some way have a path that you and your cart can get through, but the authorities can't.
David, I've hit some big hooks in my life, but never onto the interstate.
Right. Right. That's where you draw the line and go, I may need a new golf ball.
Yeah. How about a provisional here?
Right. There are two areas I don't go for the golf ball. Any body of water in Florida and an interstate highway. You know what? I need to drop here and take a penalty stroke. Listen,
What's on tap tonight, David?
If there's a bet to be made tonight, 30.5 is the over-under. Are you sure we can't get 17-14? That's 31. That's an over.
The average of the last 10 of these games is 26 points.
Wow. 30.5, though. 30.5. Pick sixes count.
Right.
I'm going over.
I'll take that bet, sir.
All right. So you're going under?
I am.
Raiders are 2.5-point favorites tonight, 8:00 on NBC.
They are daring you to take the over, by the way.
Yes, they are.
They are flat out daring you.
And they have pulled me in.
Stay strong, Mark. I'm going under as well.
5 afternoon games. We got 13 games tonight in baseball. Marlins not playing tonight. Rays are. They're in Detroit. Believe it or not, the game's on FS1. Wow. You got Toronto and Minnesota, Cubs and Cardinals with a doubleheader, Braves, Mets, the first of 5. There's some series here that are moderately interesting. Tampa Bay and Detroit, not so much. But
there's nothing about that game that's interesting.
No, I don't know. They threw a dart. It hit Rays Tigers. So 7:10 tonight on FS1. I will say I'm having a bit of a flashback. As everybody knows, I'm a Mets fan. There have been a couple of 5-game series in August in my life that the Mets were in really good shape in going into said 5-game series and absolutely got their kicked.
And they're playing great baseball right now.
Yeah, they're
The
the
pitching
second best
staff's
team in the
back.
National League, the fourth best record in baseball. Right. I mean, yeah, they're Scherzer and DeGrom are both going to pitch in the series. Yeah, why do I think the Braves are at least winning 3 out of 5?
Well, let me ask you this. You always, we were doing it with records all the time. We've been doing it with the Dolphins record. They have a very tough start to the season. Would a Dolphin fan take 2-2 to start? You and I would as Dolphin fans. We don't know if they would. Would you take 2-3 against the Braves this weekend?
No, I wouldn't. And it's foolish of me because I got a 3.5 game lead with 4 in the loss column. But I'm telling you, they're better than the Mets. If you're the Mets, I don't think you can give an inch because, quite frankly, I think the Braves are better. Mets have better starting pitching. Mets have a better 9th inning guy. Braves have a better bullpen as a whole. They have a better roster. They have a better lineup. And quite frankly, they kick the Mets' butts in big games. They've only been doing it for 30 years. That's all. 30 years. No, if I'm the Mets, I can't give an inch.
I understand you can't give an inch, but I just gave you 2-3. I didn't give you 0-5. I didn't give you 1-4.
I know that. And I'd still be 2.5 up, 3 in the loss column. I get it. No, I'm thinking, quite frankly, I need to take 3 out of 5 at home, be 4.5 up, 5 in the loss column if I'm going to hold on. I think if I lose 3 out of 5, it's the beginning of being overtaken.
Well, that is spoken like a Mets fan, and I'm not knocking David. There is no reason for him to think any differently because history shows us that's what happens to this ball club come August and September.
Especially against the Braves.
Miller and Moulton. We'll do it. It'll be a football Friday tomorrow. Pat Kerwin expected to join us.
We did this before the pandemic, and now we're doing it again. The Miller and Moulton